do you mean?
Well, they put me over. They put
But
me
I'm
over
not
here.
texting that anymore,
I was gonna
so
say, they
it
put
won't
me over-
happen again.
I was gonna say, do we move every time we have a meeting?
Yeah.
It's like we're like rotating around here.
What'd you say?
I said I'm not next to you, I won't be saying anything on the line.
Saying anything? Why?
Well, I'm gonna wear
She
this.
said it's hard to my car.
I think we're closer up here than anybody in the audience.
Yeah.
Activity class.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I read all this.
Oh, I didn't, yeah, that must be. I don't know, who's that? There wasn't on, I don't have that.
Call some other
I mean, I printed a copy
92,
in black and white, so.
Maybe a Campbell Lewis, that's really temperature here.
Okay, let's see here.
If they read
Yeah.
they got it.
I think that I got.
There it is. Okay, let me, I'm going to download it as a PowerPoint so that I can, well, it might just go up there. Let me see.
Sure. I know. It's like, sure. So let me send it to you. I think I want to work here. I can
All right, it's 6 o'clock. Let's get this going.
Okay,
If you'll rise,
And then,
please, for
do you want me to run-
join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Our flag is tiny, but it's right up here. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now for the board members, make sure you're talking into the mics. All right, they're kind of, for me, it was kind of far away. Hope everyone at home can hear. Thanks, everybody, for joining us this evening. If you are a regular board meeting attender, you may have noticed that we're not doing a consent agenda. This is my attempt to kind of go through things at a little bit of a slower pace so we can stop for questions. But if it proves to be kind of onerous, we'll change it right back. So indulge me a little bit. First item of business is the approval of minutes from the June 16th regular meeting, June 22nd, 29th, and July 2nd special meetings. Any second?
Second.
Discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, moving right along. Approval of electronic communication, July 12th, 2020, should have been in your board packet. That was the email exchange, yeah.
Yes.
Make a motion, we accept.
Second? Second. Ooh. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Approval of July bills totaling $387,501.37.
Already asked my questions to Linda, so if anyone else has them.
I have to.
You saying, I think Linda sent out some explanations there. So, any motion? Moved by Ed, any
Second.
second? Second, Mr. Jakes. Any discussion? Did everybody get the latest edition too in
The
your
last
email?
page.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And approval of monthly finance reports. Here a motion.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? This one was relatively uneventful. All right, okay, all in favor? Any opposed? All right. And adoption of the regular agenda.
No additions?
No. further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Great, okay, thanks. That brings us to public comments. Our first public comment comes from MHS past and present student leaders. You do have a 5-minute time on this, and
I just want to use every bit of the 5 minutes, sorry.
do you want me to start the 5 minutes now? Or, oh, you want to pass out the things? Okay, I understand.
Here, yeah, this is just a piece of paper. I was wondering if you guys could put your contact info on this. Email, phone number, whatever works best for you. Just to make sure that in these 5 minutes, we obviously can't cover everything we need to. So if you have any questions, comments, before we go forward, this is the best place to go.
Thank you.
No problem. We know that we have a lot to talk about in school board meeting, so we'll get right to it if you're ready.
Please.
Okay. Is there a clicker by chance?
There is not, if you'll just give me the sign, I'll pick up.
Okay, that's good.
For those of you guys, well, I'm Trevor Boardman,
My name's Durand.
and today we'll be talking about dismantling systemic racism at Marshall Public School. And for those of you that don't know us, me and Drew have both been in student council for all 4 years of our entire high school career, and Drew is the former student vice president this past school year, and I'll be the new student vice president this upcoming school year. And the two of us have attended camp together, worked on various projects, and become friends in our pursuit of leadership.
We were excited to close this year and have a normal yet impactful transition to power until coronavirus struck. The impact of COVID-19 was huge and changed the course of not only our lives, but everyone's here. It helped change perspectives like never before, especially with the death of George Floyd, which was a turning point in American history and caused this movement, Black Lives Matter, to reach new heights like never seen before.
And that was apparent with all that we've seen on the news, social media, and even in our own town. In Marshall, a group of organizers, including Drew and other MHS alumni, created an impactful moving rally and protest with speeches, a march, and even singing at the end. But near the end of the event, organizer Keisha Palmer called for an end to systemic racism with a set of policies called A Can't Wait.
Trevor, I'm gonna interrupt you just a second. I just got a message, they can't hear us on the camera. I don't know if there's a way for us to talk louder, or if we can move it. I'm not sure what the best.
Here, let me turn. Matt, turn the mic.
There you go. I wanna make sure that the people that are watching can hear you also.
Okay.
That's all right.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Thank you. I'll just move it here. Does this work louder?
I'll ask. I'll ask.
I've got you paused, so,
Okay.
yep, that was a team.
Trevor, you're gonna be the new student council president?
Sir.
Okay.
Ready?
I don't know, but we tried.
We'll resume. All right, but the set of policies, A Can't Wait, this got Drew, myself, and other organizers wondering how systemic racism could be solved at the school district level. And so what can Marshall Public Schools do?
The answer is to dismantle systemic racism in education systems like we're in today. So what is systemic racism? For those of you that don't know, systemic racism is discrimination and prejudice based on race that is built directly into every level of our society, from policies, procedures, and practices of all institutions. It can lead to such issues as discrimination in criminal justice, employment, housing, healthcare, political power, and education, among other issues. This comes from Cambridge English Dictionary, and essentially it's saying that we're wanting to level the playing field for everyone, regardless of race. So, these are 10 policies that Marshall Public Schools can adopt to help dismantle systemic racism in our education system. Isn't that going forward?
Hold on.
There we go. Number 1, review district policies. 2, create inclusive curriculum. 3, end the tracking system. 4, provide cultural awareness campaigns. Number 5, improve hiring practices. 6, change dress codes. 7, reallocate funding to school resource officers. 8, consistent disciplining regarding student misconduct. 9, protect First Amendment rights. And number 10, listen to student voice. And we would like to go more in depth on each of these policies and what they mean exactly. but due to the lack of time with the 5 minutes, we ask that we can meet with you guys at a later date to discuss that.
Because the point of this presentation is that it is not stop nor start today. We have, like policy number 10 said, it's all about listening to student voice. Listening to student voices like mine and Trevor and all the other current students you see up here and all the other names who may not even be up there. And it's not just current student support, it's former student support, it's former MHS student body presidents, it's Black Lives Matter Marshall organizers who are actually alumni of Marshall Public Schools. This movement is something that does not stop nor start today. And no better can this be summed up than in these people's words themselves. Daimani Butner says, implementing more inclusive learning and anti-racist policies throughout MPS is not something up for discussion. It should be the norm. Stephen Sims says, just being not racist isn't good enough anymore, and the community needs to see that. Charlize Tyler says, Black history shouldn't just be taught vaguely in history class. It should be covered in all classes that can relate to the topic. Malik Evans says, it's important for people of all races to feel safe and at home in our school because school should be a safe and secure place for all. And Margaret Miles, an instrumental part of organizing this presentation and will be a part of all future conversations and meetings we have, says that as a Marshall native, MPS alum, and daughter of current and former MPS employees, I am so proud that our district leaders are open to making changes in our school because protesting was only the first step. Now we make policy changes and so much more. Because this is not just a moment, it is a movement.
All of our students and staff deserve to be treated equally. Clear, explicit, and enforced anti-racist policies benefit everyone and help to eliminate bias within our school. So join the movement because now's the time for change. And if you at home would like to make a change, be on the lookout for a petition that will be posted shortly after this. But more importantly, don't stop paying attention to this movement. It does not stop today, it is ongoing, and your support makes the difference.
Being an advocate for student voice has been the highlight of my high school career. And I know that while I might be leaving, Trevor and countless of other voices will continue to fight for what is right. Please don't just listen to them, do something.
And if there's ever a time to start change, 2020 is definitely the year to do it. It's a crossroads in history on so many levels, and this means that this is a problem here as well as anywhere else in our country. So, school board members, many of you are new to this position, so what better time to focus on an equal future for all? After all, the future is but the present, a little further on. And that's all we have. If anyone has any questions.
Wanted to make sure you guys got these.
If you have any
Yeah,
questions,
thanks.
we'd love to answer them, but if not, we would love to meet afterwards, and not all the conversations need to happen here today. Thank you, Trevor.
You guys
I
got-
just second, yeah, get mine.
Oh, yeah, here. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thanks, Drew.
Thanks, Drew. Thanks, Trevor.
Thank you.
Next, we welcome up Eliza Paprick. You guys have mine. Yeah. You're welcome to come here, the center, wherever you would like.
Eliza, you're gonna wanna be semi-close to a microphone. We can
Ah,
send
that's
this
right.
around to you, if that helps.
Can you turn that one around to
There
me?
you go.
There you go.
And I'll start when you start.
I think I just
Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. I am very passionate about life. I want my family, friends, and everyone in our community to experience long, productive, and healthy lives. I believe that you collectively have the power to save one or more lives by the decisions that you make tonight, and I cannot remain silent about something so important. My name is Eliza Paprick, and I will be in 8th grade this fall. I love school. I love my teachers, I love my friends, I love music and sports and learning. I cannot wait until we can safely return to our normal school days. However, the only way we can do this is if we are safe from exposure to COVID-19. People my age are unlikely to experience complications from this virus. But if students were to become infected, we would likely expose our parents, grandparents, or other high-risk individuals to the virus, which could cause a severe illness or even death. The virus could spread easily within a classroom full of children if precautions are not taken. Once it is safe to reopen, the most effective precautions are simple and inexpensive: universal masking and distancing. In the early stages of the pandemic, some scientists did not recommend the use of face coverings. As data emerged that demonstrated the effectiveness of masks, these scientists changed their recommendations. That's what scientists do. When the facts change, they change their opinions. There is no longer any debate in the scientific community regarding the effectiveness of masks. The CDC and WHO have both issued guidance that strongly recommends the use of masks to prevent the spread of COVID-19. There is also no longer any debate among elected officials regarding the effectiveness of masks, although some elected leaders are unwilling to mandate their use. The only experts still debating the use of masks are those on social media. And while many of them may have graduated from really good high schools and have their GEDs, their opinions should not weigh into any policy decisions at any level. Let us base our decisions regarding safety on the opinions of those with MDs and PhDs. Nearly all major retail stores have announced plans to mandate masks among customers. This helps keep both the employees and the customers safe. The population density in a classroom is generally even greater than in a store, so masking is even more important in schools than in Target or Walmart. I also believe that any virtual learners should be taught the same curriculum as the non-virtual learners. Parents will want to be able to transition students into or out of virtual learning based on how comfortable they are regarding the risk level in the community. If at some point there is a positive case in a school, we can transition to virtual learning the very next day. Students like me will want to be able to interact with our teachers regularly, whether virtually or in person. If Marshall teachers are delivering the same MPS curriculum to all students, whether virtually or in person, this will be easy. I am asking you, the school board and the district administration, to include universal masking and distancing in all phases of whatever reopening plan you decide to pursue. For very small children, a face shield like the one I'm wearing might be a comfortable alternative to a mask. Okay. I am also asking that you allow students to participate in the same MPS curriculum whether they are learning at home or at school. The use of masks can help give us the freedom to return to some semblance of normal school. I want to return to school, but I will not feel safe in a room in which I am in close proximity to unmasked students or staff. Please do everything in your power to keep students, staff, and community safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Eliza.
Thank you.
You have shields to be so fashionable, but you look very beautiful.
Following those reports, we have, following those public comments, we have reports. The first report is from CTA.
We're still getting teacher feedback to go make that hair.
Make sure you come up to a microphone.
Just FYI, additionally, we invited, because not everybody was comfortable coming out today, so we do have 44 teachers right here in my phone, just so you know that, joining us today. Okay? All right. First of all, I want to thank the board for allowing us to be added to the agenda last minute. I really, really, really appreciate your flexibility. As educators, when a problem arises, we are often told to rely on relationships and communication. Given there are several new faces on this board, we encourage you as we move forward with a plan to reopen our school that you lean on communicating and building relationships with staff and each other to foster collaboration and trust. We are here to share with you the feedback about the proposed plan that was shared with staff on Friday. We are aware that you didn't ask for our feedback. However, as representatives of teachers in Marshall, we firmly believe that you need the staff on board if we are to have any hope of successful reentry into school. It is our desire to have a successful year, and we are all motivated towards that common goal. In regards to this plan, there are many concerns, questions, and comments from staff. As of 9 a.m. this morning, we had about 109 responses. Not as many as we would have liked, but we want to thank those who used their non-contracted time to fill out that survey. Had we received this plan a bit earlier, I'm confident that we could have collected more responses, as this was primarily filled out over the weekend. If staff were allowed to vote on this proposal today, it would be rejected. Our survey revealed deep feelings of unease, confusion, and frustration from teachers and support staff, the very people that would be tasked with implementing this plan should it be approved. Basic questions such as, in what phase would school begin? What happens if I have to quarantine and I don't have enough sick days? Where is the district going to find a substitute teacher who will work in a classroom full of exposed and possibly affected students for substitute pay? How can I social distance when I teach in a room that was designed to be an office and I have 25 students? What about families that want to have their children learn in a virtual classroom? Are MPS teachers teaching those students? What accountability pieces will the teachers have? What accountability will the students have? Is there an attendance policy in place for them? Additionally, this proposal raised many questions about who would be required to quarantine and when. Until these and many more questions are addressed and clearly answered, the CTA cannot endorse this plan. We have provided Dr. Mayer and the board with all of the results, and we stand ready to collaborate with you and address the confusion and frustration felt by MPS staff and faculty. We understand that many of these questions will be difficult to answer. They are questions that would have arisen no matter what plan was being proposed. The bottom line, however, is that we're asking our staff, our teachers, our students, and our community to put themselves at risk. Our hope is that going forward, the central office, the Board of Education, and the CTA can come together to create a plan that is clear, effective, and safe.
We don't want sharing this information to come across as the teachers are somehow feeling very radical today. Overall, we would like to see an improved line of communication, leading to simple solutions that benefit everyone. I believe that we all share the same goal in wanting to work together to produce the best possible result. I feel like we would do everyone a disservice by failing to gather and share this information with you. By sharing the opinions of our staff, we are sharing the thoughts of educators which collectively have hundreds of years of educational experience. We believe that this level of experience deserves a seat at the table, and we appreciate you letting us do that here tonight.
Oh, okay.
I've got a couple questions. You say we didn't ask for your feedback. What was the presentation last week that we sat through?
That would be the presentation from the task force,
Yeah?
right? And
I thought that was a teacher task force that put that presentation together.
right? To our knowledge, after that last meeting, there was no other communication with the task force asking for our thoughts or opinions until this presentation was revealed to us on Friday.
And I get-
communication that we were going to? I mean,
I
we
believe
heard from the task force, so we,
Actually, go ahead, yeah.
you guys were told that you would hear back from the board?
I believe the board asked us what we would like to see as the next steps, and we said that we would like to see communication, questions answered, if you have things that you like or don't like, things you like to see or don't want to see, improvements to be made, your recommendations, so
Do you think you got left out of the second step for where we ended up?
I would say that many teachers, I'm not speaking for myself, I'm speaking for all of those teachers. If you followed the email chain when the presentation was sent out, the proposal, it was rapid fire questions about it, and so we felt like that as a CTA that we were trying to facilitate that conversation.
And the second one is an observation that I gather from your presentation that the majority of the teachers in the school district don't want to return full-time at this point in time, or that they just want to reject the proposal that's
I would say
on the
that
table
that's,
tonight.
I would say that's inaccurate. Our sense is that the current proposal on the table leaves too many unanswered questions and too many unknowns. And if we could get those questions answered, I believe that we would be able to move forward. There's just a lot of, like I said, unknowns and questions, a lot of confusion surrounding what would really be in place and how things would be handled, protocols and things like
I
that.
think I asked some of those questions.
yeah, I don't believe
Yeah.
we had any teacher respond, and I've read the responses, but I don't think we had any teacher respond with, I'm not returning to school, I refuse to return to school. I think there was a lot of questions about how can I return to school and how can I do that safely?
I think everybody has those questions. I don't think we all have all the right answers, but
Right.
we have, this is a work through no matter what program we put or what phase or anything. The whole system, we have to work together. But when you said all teachers, I don't think that's accurate. You can probably say most or some, but speaking for all, you can't say that because there's head shaking behind you, so
I'm not
please.
sure if
So
I said
just,
all.
just to make sure, you did say all, but, so when you're speaking in terms of doing surveys, you know that you have different counts of people, so, and you have people that didn't even fill it out, so maybe not using the word all, because then you're making it feel like the administration came through with a proposal and all the teachers refused to come back to work. And,
I don't recall
no, but
saying
that's, I'm just using that as an example when you use the word all. So just want to make sure that that's clear, that we all have to work together. And administration with the teachers, we all have to come up with those answers together. And I can't tell you that any answer is going to be correct.
answers together is exactly what we're looking for. We
Yes,
just didn't
I
feel like
agree
it was
with
together.
communication 100%.
I don't feel like it was together.
So what does that look like to you?
What we would like to see is for you guys to review the comments and questions that were made. I could give you a synopsis of several keywords that came up repeatedly in a lot of responses, such as dock days, sick leave. Those are some things that were major concerns.
Which we had those questions.
I think those
Yeah.
things, those general questions would really ease a lot of feelings.
It looked like it was 50-50 on teachers that wanted to come back and didn't out of the 100 responses we had. I realized it was classified about 15 there.
Yeah, I want to clarify that.
What's the percentage? What's the
question-
percentage of people what's the percentage of employees that haven't filled out that survey?
Two things. Let me answer his
Okay,
question and then I'll
sorry.
answer yours.
I'm-
I want to clarify that the teachers who answered yes and no was not report back to work. It was not, yes, I will report back to work, or no, I will not.
Support
It
the
was-
plan.
It was to support the plan. Are you in support of the plan
This plan
this
as
moment, if you were asked to vote on it, yes or no? Second question, I believe that there are roughly 300, someone in here,
66.
staff members altogether, and we had 109. So, a third. Not how many we would like,
Quite a
but
third.
the short period of time that we were given between getting the information and then putting it out, I think that was a remarkable turnout, in my opinion.
Yeah, and having just gotten, we got your results back from the survey today at like, what, 2 o'clock?
It was noon, 12:15.
Noon, it was noon, okay. And so I empathize, right? Like, having a lot to get through really quickly, and because, and I know I'm not the only board member who sat and read through all 100 slides of it. All 100 slides, took notes and such.
I actually took vacation for an hour to read it.
So we're in this together with you, right? We are in this together with you. Let's make that clear.
Well, thank
Yes,
you. That's-
communication and clear.
And so we're hearing that you want better communication. Okay, we can work on that. That we can work on. But we do also need to make quick progress.
Absolutely.
And I think we can do that together, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe so, yes, absolutely.
I'd be lying if I didn't tell you, I'm going back into the classroom in 4 weeks. I'm scared, and a lot of things scare me. But in 4 weeks, I'm going back into the classroom, and I already know that if I catch it, with everything else I got going on, I'm done. So I understand those people out there that are scared.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a couple of us on here who have spouses who work in the district, who have underlying medical conditions that make them very high risk. So there's not a day that I don't go to bed worried about it. So if you don't think that we're not taking it seriously, you're mistaken.
That's not what I was.
Communication we can work on, okay, but we have to be in this together. And we have to share the same goal.
Correct.
I think the task force brought great information.
Yeah.
I don't feel like the task force needed to be used 100%. I think that the plan for return and the task force information, I think that can work together. And that's the stance, I mean, that's the stance that we need to have. How can we safely return that's appropriate? It's not gonna be comfortable for everybody. I mean, it's not. But we also need to remember that a lot of people are continuing to work. There are a lot of parents that can't follow the online learning and the at-home learning. And we have to provide a service to those people, especially in our community. And so we've got to be prepared for those at-risk people too, they're sitting on the bubble just waiting, praying to God that we go back. So I think,
just feel that we're behind. Time
I
is
think
not on
we're
our
way
side.
late. I think we're way behind,
We are.
and that's what we're hearing. We're hearing from you all through your surveys, and we're hearing from them saying, we've got to know what the next step is, and so we've got to move forward.
What breaks your heart is when you read the student survey.
Yes.
Yep.
And 96% of them say, I just want to be back in school. I'm tired of being out, so. I don't know. We're never going to make the decision that pleases everybody.
That's right.
But we have to do what's best for the students and the teachers at the same time and try to combine that. I would really like to see more response from the teachers.
Yeah.
I know it's non-contract time, but this is important, and I
It's
mean,
almost too late.
It couldn't
too
possibly
late.
take more than 10 minutes to fill out that survey.
You're right.
I'd really like to see more than less than a third of our teachers tell us what they think. I mean,
They're the
I
ones that are
really
gonna
would.
have to do
and
it.
I know you had, I'm sorry, I know you had limited time. So if they could keep them coming in,
We can turn the survey back on. We have it turned off as of 9 this morning when I started collecting the data and compiling it for you. We can turn it back on if that's something you'd like.
think we're on a time crunch. We need to start answering the questions we don't know and
Right.
getting that plan put together, and we just need to stamp it and say, this is the plan, and leave it living, as they call it, an open document that we can change as we go, as we see things and people approach us with more information.
I think it's definitely gonna have to be a document.
Yeah.
Every 30
I-
days.
I have
But I
another-
think we need to get going.
I have another
30
question.
days, it will be totally different yet again.
You guys are
Winter,
close.
it'll be again.
I'm sorry, Brian, go ahead.
I was just saying, this, this is an evolution, since March, and we learn more, we take a step back, we change things, and it keeps going. This isn't gonna look the same in December as it looks now. We're looking at a
Right.
resurgence for us whenever it gets cold again.
Right.
And so we're probably gonna progress through these phases, we're gonna get in different places. But, like, most of the board is saying, we're gonna have to be there together
Yeah.
to support you all, and then, more importantly, we're gonna have to support the students of the district. That's the rationale behind all of you becoming teachers and us up here, supporting the different programs that we have going on.
I think a really positive first step in solving this small problem that we have right now, because I don't see it as a big problem. I don't see it as a huge canyon that we can't close the gap on. I think just a few things that teachers really hit on as concerns, such as sick leave policy and if there would be any adjustments made. If that came out and there was a sick leave policy adjustment, or if you guys had a consideration, for example, instead of dock days being at the prorated amount of per day per employee, 179th of their salary, the cost of a substitute to fill that spot. Those kind of examples. If you had some solutions, or at least told people what to expect.
We're currently talking to the attorney about how we should be interpreting the existing law. Dr. Mayer was just briefing me about her discussion earlier today with our attorney about that, so that we can address that.
Right. And another one that I think came up pretty frequently was substitutes and a lack of
Yeah.
substitutes. And it's one thing to cover for Mindy's classroom, Mindy's not there when it's not coronavirus, but to walk into Mindy's classroom and cover her classroom knowing that she went home to quarantine is a whole nother ask of staff members to co-teachers and substitutes. So I think there's,
I want you to understand also from a different perspective of this, and I appreciate that, Amy. But I also think that you need to look at the healthcare field and those people that have been, there are people constantly covering for people that have been positive or waiting on a test. There are constantly people that are going in and doing that same thing in groups, in large groups, of much higher susceptible people than what we have here. And so I appreciate your fear, but I also want to encourage you that people have continually gone and backed up people that are positives. So the risk, it's been there since March for people that have continued to work this whole time. There have been positives, and when that positive goes in, somebody else has to go in and into that affected area. So I want to encourage you and the rest of the staff that there are protocols in place, and the health department is here. We are listening to them. We're gonna follow their guidance. We're going to beg them for their help in ensuring as much as we possibly can that you guys are going to be safe. And I just want you to remember that people have continued to have to go into people that make and work in a whole lot different environment than you. They have been in a huge stressful environment, and there have been ways to keep them safe. And so, and that's through working with your local health department, working with your state governments, working with us to help put in safety measures. I hope that you all will find some place to trust that we are working together in your best interest and your family's best interest and this district's best interest. It is not an opportunity for us just to blow a positive. I've had some sleepless nights, and I said I wouldn't. I've had some sleepless nights about how does this look? How does this make you feel when you haven't had to be in the middle of it? Or how does this make me feel if I vote one way and somebody gets deathly ill and they lose their life? Like, it is a huge stressor. There are people doing it every day. And so there are ways to keep people safe. And you need to be comfortable in the fact that we're listening to these folks in the front line right here.
and I think that's what teachers were asking, was what protections are available. It was not listed.
And you're going to hear some of that tonight.
Is it still in development?
As we go. We're still working. The numbers are changing, the recommendations are changing, our opinions differ, and so we've got to come to a common ground on that also. So, I'm just simply asking you guys to trust, and we want to do the same.
I would say that it's slightly unfair to say that there are nurses or people in the health field that are doing this every day. I'm not a nurse.
I'm not talking about nurses necessarily.
Medical fields was your first example, so I'm not in that position, so I'm not comfortable knowing protocols and things that will keep me safe.
Sure you're not.
And that's what we're looking for, is the answers to those questions, and there's hundreds and hundreds of
Yep.
pages of questions.
So we're hearing better communication and a clearer I mean, our plans are clearly in development. There are two
Absolutely.
sections at the bottom about, like,
Yeah.
these are still being
Right.
developed.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not as if we're gonna keep them hidden from you. As soon as
We all
they
have the
are
same
being
questions.
developed, right, we will want your input. We want your feedback. So
I have
we'll be.
one final observation that you might be able to help me out with. Are you seeing a difference between elementary and upper level? Because I'm more worried about putting 30 first graders or 28 first graders in a tight classroom. I know we can separate, I'm gonna separate my classes when I go back in the fall. We can probably do some of the same at the high school. How are we gonna separate that many kids in an elementary building already crowded? That's the one that's keeping me up.
I think it's a
the high
problem.
school and the middle school can probably handle a lot of this because they're more mature, but how are we gonna put 25 or
And some of that,
26 kids in the room?
some of that comes down to plans at the building level.
Yeah, and then,
Right,
and the
so as opposed to
principals
putting that
and-
on CTA right now to say, what's every building going to do? But rather, if what Harry's asking about is, so have you heard concerns from teachers along those lines?
There are concerns about classroom spaces. That was a quote from a teacher who said, "How am I supposed to socially distance in the middle school? My classroom used to be an office."
Right,
Elementary teachers are asking about how to maintain social distance when I just want to go over and hug my friend. High school staff are asking, these students are adult age, so they are adult transmitters. How do we guarantee that we don't have adult transmission at a building this size?
right.
With, again, classrooms that are not large. This is a very large one, and we all fit, but they're not all like this.
Yeah.
So yes, I'd say it's definitely a
Thank
question.
you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, CTA. Next up, we have a transportation report. Mr. Craig Thompson, come on up, Craig. Come up and find a mic. Or yell real loud, Craig.
Share with you some things that we have going on that we just currently finished. We just currently finished with Dawn, the ASBR, and I'll share the total mileage that we have so far, which was 161,670 miles that we ran. Out of those miles, it was 37,456 was activity miles. Special needs miles was 9,552. Shuttle was 11,584 miles. That's inter-school shuttle and stuff like that. Early childhood miles, when I did those numbers, it was 16,456. And eligible route miles after all that was taken out was 86,587 that were reported. So moving on down, total eligible students from October and February count. We do that twice a year with 1,698 is what we kind of transport. Vocational school was 16, special needs, of course, was 94. Inter-school shuttle kids was 46, and early childhood was 87 for AM and PM that we transport. Total activity trips that we run so far this year was 559. Usually we run anywhere from 700 to 750 for a normal school year. And just some other stuff that I wrote down. The drivers are scheduled. We'll be having our annual physicals over here at the high school on the 23rd. And all the drivers and bus aides have just finished 4 hours of CPR training this summer, so everybody's CPR trained. Looking at our schedule, of course, we got to do 8 hours of training this year required by the state. I'm a licensed trainer, so I'm going to train them. We're going to try to do it in 2 separate groups and practice social distancing. We're looking at August 11th and 12th here at the high school. Just a couple other things that I wrote down. We're currently finishing all the service work on all the buses. The mechanics, hats off to them because they hadn't missed a beat yet. They're getting everything done for the maintenance part of it. They have wiped down the buses I don't know how many times. I think they've just about rubbed all the paint off everything. We're replacing cameras. We've got a couple of those that are bad. LMB just left think today, they just finished up tuning all the radios and equipment throughout the district, so they're done with that. And then August 1st, my mechanics will start with the school bus inspections, with all the vehicles, so we'll get that knocked out. And the last thing I really had was redoing the bathroom. Unfortunately, we had termites. Dr. T knows it. We had to tear all that out, so we're redoing that. That's about it, basically. Anybody got any questions for me?
When's your state inspection?
It just depends. They are so backlogged. I look for them to come back and do a spot inspection probably about October, somewhere around there.
Any major deficiencies you found?
Yeah, but it will probably be somewhere around March or April again next year. So.
Craig, what's your thoughts about making our buses safe?
Oh my, I knew you was gonna ask me that.
I've got some about it for you.
It's well, here's the thing, and I mean, I've tossed back and forth, and of course I've talked to, I've got input from here. I've got input from other districts that are doing it. In a perfect world, I wish I had triple times the buses that I got, but I don't have.
I know they're going science seats, distance seats.
One thing that we will do for sure.
That is one of my second biggest concerns.
Well, and one thing I want to share with you too, and I'll just kind of put this out.
Open windows.
We really need to, as much as I hate to, but we really need to stick to the 1 mile rule and not pick up under the mile and encourage parents. I mean, we got sidewalks around town. People can ride bikes. Unless it's a certain special situation, then we'll look at it and adjust it by that. And by doing that, that should cut out some of my numbers. I had 200 and some that was
And I know some school districts, I've been looking it up, are using parents to shuttle.
Yeah,
Carpool.
Carpool, that's the word, yeah.
neighborhood carpool.
Well,
Neighborhood carpool.
And then we're also, of course, we're gonna load from the back to the front, social distance on there. We're looking at having everybody wear masks. Of course, like I said, my mechanics clean all the time. All the drivers, even before this happened, we clean, because they don't wanna get sick, I don't wanna get sick. So it's just standard procedure, but we'll step it up a little bit more on how we operate on that part. Of course, the windows will be down, and, I mean, that's just, we'll try to roll as normal as we can, but with social distancing, so.
I have a question for you. Training your people, this is not COVID related. Working and training your people for the upcoming school year, I know that I've been told you've had kind of a shift working with the nurses and special health needs when kids go on trips and documenting that and your drivers. Do you have a new policy that's fairly new about trips and safety with medical concerns?
And I'll be honest with you, we don't have, but I have been working with Rosie and some other people on that. Granted, it is, and it's hard to, if you don't come tell me what's wrong, or tell the school district, we can't be responsible.
Right.
And there's stuff like that happens, and I always ask her, how can we find out about this? And usually, it's too late, so we have to react, so. But we have been looking at some different plans, as far as, the cards. We do on our special needs routes, the ones that we know about. And I'll share this, but we have a list that's locked up of what happens, or, if something should happen.
I'm particularly like, if you go out of town, it's a non-routine trip, and you have someone, if you have a driver on the bus that has someone with a high-risk healthcare need, how do they know that if it's really vital to stop, how do they know that they need to do that?
Here.
I'm not asking for an answer necessarily, because I don't want to put you on the spot.
No, this is fine, I'll share this with you. They drive, but if a student comes up and says, hey, Carol, we need to stop and go blah, 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 how come the teacher didn't come up and report it? And, we have kids all the time will come up and say, hey, can we go to McDonald's, or,
Sure.
blah, 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 blah,
I
blah, blah.
respect that.
And we gotta get home, but it should come from the teacher should know the whole general deal. Because, we transported anytime 1,200 kids.
Yeah.
So it's kinda hard to keep track. Is it fair to ask my driver to know all that? Not really. The teacher should come up and share that information with the driver.
I would be curious on a policy for protection there, going forward with some high-risk medical things and kiddos that are gonna be on the buses, headed out on the interstates.
Well, and not only that, and here's one thing that I always teach them too, I mean, we're just, if you can't get me on the radio or a phone call, don't call me, call 911.
Yeah,
That-
right.
I mean, that's the first
Yeah,
thing
right.
that we gotta do, so.
Any other questions?
No, you already answered all mine.
Thank you,
sir.
Sure.
Yes.
I don't have anything else on my list.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Text me.
Thank you very much.
Carrie, I'm getting messages that people are having a hard time hearing you on the video. I guess I share one.
Oh, Aaron.
Like, Ryan, they can't hear you either.
They'll just be mad what I say
Now it's gonna be
anyway.
everybody.
I'll speak louder.
Hello.
I'm done with my watch going off. so I don't know.
Well, thanks everybody for letting Ellen know. Keep texting her.
No, I'm done answering. I've turned it off, so I don't get on anymore on my phone.
That's not true. Keep trying, everybody. Okay, BMS and MHS principals and instructional coaches. That's item.
All at the same time, or?
Go ahead, Paul. Yeah, go ahead.
Would you like one of these?
I believe that the list of duties that the instructional coach does at BMS was shared with you guys. You know, coming into this to give a report on what they do, I didn't work closely with her last year, so Laura would be here, but she's at a funeral, so she couldn't speak to what was on the list, but she did a great job putting everything on there that she did last year. So just some things that I look forward to this upcoming year to work with our new instructional coach, Julie Gass. They are a huge support to our professional development, supporting our new teachers and returning teachers with creating lesson plans, something that we do at Beaker. And I had the privilege to work with the last couple of years, creating with Mr. Tobin with our high-quality lesson plans. The instructional coach helps to support that in the classroom on a daily basis. They help with instructional strategies. You know, from the assistant principal side of things, they would help and observe if there was classroom management or maybe some struggles with specific students that had behavioral struggles. They would support those. You know, obviously, as the assistant principal, I can speak to that. I wasn't in there helping so much with that. I was dealing with student issues pretty much all day. So that's where the IC works closely with the principal to, you know, make our teachers be the best that they can be. And, you know, just create a collaborative culture within our building. You know, whenever Laura shared that list with me, I thought it was quite impressive. You know, I was there for a lot of meetings and a lot of things, but to really take a look at what she did on a daily basis, I was very impressed. I know there was a lot of data collection that she spent a lot of time supporting people to create. And she'll work very closely with Julie when she transitions into that new role, and I look forward to working with them as well. So, like I said, I can't speak to what has happened in years past, just looking forward to continuing that collaborative culture and having that support system in for our teachers. So I don't know if you have any questions or anything as to what's on that list. Okay, I'll let the experts speak now.
Paula, you tough act to follow. So Paula hit most of those major areas, and they're same within all of our buildings. In my eyes, I try to look at each position and look at what the purpose of the position is, what's created for it. Our instructional coaches are instructional support leaders within our building, whether it be through elected PD or design PD for an individual who needs support in a certain area. Primary purpose at the beginning of the year for our ICs and within the semesters is supporting young, new teachers. And not just young, new teachers, but any new teacher to the district, because you have all your induction processes that take place. And they're like a new student in school, you know, now new class. And we'll raise my hand and ask the stupid question in the faculty meeting in their mind, right? And so there's no question that's stupid. And what I want to have happen is for our instructional coaches to be able to break that barrier between you're evaluating me to being able to be a support system for that person who maybe feels vulnerable, out of place, new to the area. I experienced that last year, and I had an exceptional induction process where I was at, and I was very appreciative for that because it gave me comfort in order to do my job. And so the main thing for me is that not only our students feel safe coming in as freshmen, but our new people in our building feel welcome to the family. Also, they're there's a bit of a control in the process of acclimating new people to the processes that you expect and the culture that you expect in your building. And so it is a close relationship with the principal. Many of the duties are, if you were to look at a principal's responsibilities, and I don't have one of those sheets in front of me, but it's quite extensive. It's single-spaced and a lot of commas and extras and anything else that's assigned. And so you can look on there and you can find a lot of teacher responsibilities on the principal responsibility sheet. And so kind of my argument there is, what do we value? And I really appreciate Marshall Public Schools when funding is available to put instructional purposes and instructional support and programs at the forefront, because these directly impact the success of our students. I've worked countless hours with instructional coaches. This is my first year working with Jenna Godrew. She has been a true blessing, not only from the instructional support level, but the relationships that she builds with students in our building. It's very difficult to work in a school and not have direct contact with students. You almost are missing a piece of what's there, right? And Jenna does a great job of reaching out and finding ways to not only connect with the kids, but how can we improve our building? And so one area that we're looking at moving forward is student leadership. A couple of students spoke earlier, and some of that voice comes from the ideas of student leadership groups and allowing for conversations to take place. And Jenna has, she's volunteered to come in and do those things before school starts so she can continue to do her own position. But not just to speak about what Jenna does, but all instructional coaches that I have been surrounded with do many things. But to give you a small list, they work with common assessments and analysis of those assessments in order to improve scores for students. They also help their teachers understand what that data might mean. A lot of us want to look at it from a veteran perspective, or we've been in this role for a while. A new person coming onboarding into a completely new school system has no idea how you track data, how you have conversations around data and make decisions about data. And so part of their process is to make those people feel comfortable and valued within the conversation. So that's one area that is very important. The out-time support is directly for students that are either struggling or need a significant boost in a certain area. They want more curriculum. And so the flexibility of having a person that can meet the individual needs of students is a huge luxury. I'm not saying that it's a have to have, but it's definitely a great luxury to have, and then also a great resource for our kids and our families. Beyond that, technology support is probably the biggest one that I have seen at Marshall High School. We have staff members that are on all ends of the spectrum in regards to the use of technology, and there are many, many important things that we have to do throughout a day at the administrative level and at the teacher level. And so for having somebody that you can send a note to say, hey, third hour on Friday, I plan on doing this really cool presentation to engage our students and to do this, but I'm really unsure how to manipulate this. Is there any way you can meet with me on your plan period? And these people find a way to fit it in their schedule. They try to be as open and transparent as they can. I can only speak for my relationship with Jenna this year as the principal, and if there is something that I need, and I need now to help me make decisions, Jenna can get the information. She can pull it off of the DESE website. She will make contact during the day with those people to get the direct information that I need to make decisions that are going to impact students in a timely fashion. Yes, I can do that. We can all do all of those things, but I think it requires time and energy, and efficiency is important when we're trying to make quick decisions. We discussed that earlier with the earlier presentation. The only other thing that I would really like to highlight, and I touched on it just a little bit, is every member of our faculty has growth plans, okay? And these are designed to help them in key areas identified by the district or self-identified in some areas to help them improve professionally. These documents are not easy to understand. They're not easy to fill out, and we want them to be useful and meaningful for our people. When you write goals, I hope that all of our goals, when you write them down, that you completely understand what they are and you have action steps to reach them. And so that's one thing that really, really value out of our instructional coaches is their ability to go in to an environment with somebody that they have no idea who this is, other than the small induction that they have the first 2 weeks of school, and they develop personal, professional goals for that individual, help them. I don't know how you put a value on that, I really don't, because that determines the success of not only that person, but 20-plus students that they see each hour. So, I hope that I've given you just a little bit of perspective on how the IC is used at the high school. There are many things that we do, and they're highlighted in your packet. The PD for Points is one thing that I'm very excited about at the high school. Jenna's done a great job of advocating for that, and teachers giving up of their own time in order to develop professionally, whether it be on their lunches or what have you. And the basic premise behind that is they get points, they are able to collect those points and then cash those in for rewards that don't cost us anything but mean a whole lot to them. And it's usually time to plan or create something for one of their classes.
I have a couple of questions. My first question is, who is the direct supervisor for the instructional coaches? I might need that microphone. Paula, who's the direct supervisor for your instructional coach?
I believe that's a shared, me, and then also work closely with the curriculum director, Diane.
Ian?
Same.
Okay, so where did the list come from that was provided to us?
Laura and I worked on that together.
Okay, is Laura a 12-month contract?
No, she's not.
And where did yours come from?
Same.
So,
I mean, she's transitioning into a different role. She's not still in that role.
so, but we've asked non-contracted time employees to make a list of their job duties right now? Who made that request?
I contacted Jenna and asked her to create a list for us.
I'm concerned that we're asking people that are on non-contracted time to do work unpaid. The board set a precedence August 23rd of 2019 that when people cannot complete their work in a timely manner, that we pay them for that work. Diane asked for 10 hours to be paid at $300 an hour last year on August 23rd.
That was finished curriculum?
It was for, the minutes say asked to be paid 10 days beyond her contracted time during 2018-2019 year. And so I'm just concerned that we're not able to make a list of what our employees are doing without their help when they're not working and they're on non-contracted time. I think that it's behoove of the board to understand and recognize that our faculty and staff work well above their contracted time. And I would suggest that our best practice going forward is that we don't use those non-contracted teachers and staff when they're not being paid for it.
Can I say something just
Yep.
to that? I'm not saying that I agree or disagree one way or the other, but I do feel very passionate about Beaker and Marshall. You know, I am not contracted, but I go in because I'm transitioning into a new role. So
Sure.
I think there's also a happy medium to people do things or go above and beyond when they feel passionate or they want to make their building or the school the best that it possibly can be.
I don't disagree.
So I mean, like, just, again, this is maybe not the same as what you're talking about, but transitioning into a new role, you know, I've been going in to try to prepare for whatever this school year will look like.
I'm concerned that you guys are standing in front of us with the perception, I get the perception that you guys are standing in front of us fighting for the position like it's gonna go away. And that's not the case. And so my question then would be, why are you guys standing up here fighting for the position when you're not the direct supervisor and Diane is? I don't understand what's happening.
I don't either.
Could I respond just briefly? One thing that you had said, I agree with you 100%, that we need to value other people's time as much as we value our own.
I agree.
I think as, not just Marshall Public Schools, but in general in society, I think that that's important. I think it involves empathy. And one thing that I want to be clear on is that the list that I have and that I shared with you, I don't know if those things were on Jenna's list, but those are on my list for Jenna. And,
Perfect.
And it is difficult when you have shared, shared responsibility for an employee, and so you hope that your expectations are aligned, or you at least are able to have conversations about that. I was requested to contact Jenna in
Okay.
regards to a list. needs are, and mine might vary a little bit from some of my staff members, because a lot of them want to do more than what is required of them. And so I appreciate that, but they also know that that's a bonus for them, you know, they don't have to do those things, but we certainly appreciate it, and our kids benefit from it, so.
Right. So one of my thought process to the board as I've looked at this is I wonder if we should not have a discussion, Dr. Mayor, whoever needs to have a discussion to directly align those instructional coaches with the principals and let them directly oversee the work in their building. That's what they're there for anyway. And then I think that we need to evaluate our policies regarding non-paid time and what we expect of people. We already know that teachers are overworked and underpaid. The last thing we need to do is overwork them on their time off. So
If I could speak to that, I think that the question was that who directly oversees the instructional coaches? When they are doing the work in the buildings, that is a principal overseeing them because it directly affects the staff there. If it is a district level thing such as induction or a district level PD day, that is when I oversee them, when it's impacting the entire district when we're working together. This list was actually requested by the board at our last meeting. What is it that because that I was given the directive the next day by Dr. Mayer to please create a list. After we shared the one that the elementary had done, you said, I was told you were said, I would like to see what middle and high also like to do. At that time, I reached out to, I can list what I asked them to do at a district level, but I cannot always speak to what they're doing in the building level. That is a team effort, and that changes all the time what that might look like. So the only people who could create those lists are the people who are doing the job. There are things that are on all three of the lists, the elementary, the middle, and the high, that I may have not have been aware they were doing in the building, and by no means that I want our instructional coaches' positions to be misrepresented because I wasn't aware that they were whatever it might be on the list. I asked the principals to work with their instructional coaches to make sure that their building is represented. I know that the list also includes things that they do at a district level, such as providing professional development, working with our new teachers. Those are all things that come from me, that I oversee. So there is a twofold level here. I do not evaluate them, the principals evaluate them. All I do is facilitate the things that need to happen as a district. I do not evaluate instructional coaches.
Sounds like the specter of miscommunication rears its head again.
That's what I am telling you what I was informed of what the board was asked for. There was
There
a discussion, and Ms. Lance Mrs. Lance stated that she would like to see a list of.
I said
of
if
the
we
job
saw a
duties.
list of
Because
different, they would be different across the district.
Right.
I think that drew,
I think there was a misconception of
yeah.
you guys
that grew
needing
out
to
of
actually come
something
and speak
that
to
kind
us.
of
I
bothered me.
apologize.
We started talking about some problems and got the impression that an instructional coach did not want to help us in the classroom, and that bothered me a little bit. I'm looking at, we have 7 instructional coaches. That's close to $250,000 pulled out of the teachers' fund every year for people who aren't teaching. Now, I haven't made up my mind one way or the other on that, because you're telling me they're doing good things. But that's a lot of money out of the teachers' fund for people who are not teaching every day with students. Now, maybe I'm wrong, correct me, but that's just a thought running through my head right now.
Harry, I would like to respond just briefly. I agree 100%. We have to think about all funds right now. Everybody, every business, every organization, every family is thinking about how can they meet the demands of what's in front of them with what they currently have. So, I'm not necessarily advocating for saving a position or anything like that.
I'm not trying to do away with the positions, I mean, but
I hear what you're, as far as directly instructing students on a daily basis, no. I don't think that we want them doing that. What we want them to do is to help teachers, and again, I believe that that's teaching as well, learning to continue for adults in the building as well. They don't have to be content experts at the high school level. They need to be really good at procedures and processes. They need to be able to identify a hole that's creating problems with delivering their content. And we have veteran teachers that have those problems. We also have brand new teachers that have those problems. And so I would love to have an administrative coach. It would be great to have that, the ability to contact them and troubleshoot how to do some
I'm
things
gonna
work.
apply
Call the
for that job,
superintendent.
Mr. Hurts, I want that job.
I did that job at KU.
I'm just saying, I think it's a positive thing, I don't think it's a negative thing.
Mr. Carroll, I always compare our instructional coaches to a coach that's for a sports team. I guarantee the last game that Michael Jordan played, he had somebody who was out there critiquing how he did that layup. And he only wanted to get better, and he was one of the best basketball players ever.
Yeah, you and
I
I
can
think-
guarantee that every teacher, I can't guarantee, I'm not gonna say all, sorry, but I am assuming, even on my last day of teaching, when I left the classroom, if somebody would have been in there to tell me how to do it a little bit better, I would have wanted to do that for my kids, just like Michael Jordan wanted to be a little bit better at his layup.
Yeah, I'm a
And
real,
that's how I look at
I'm a real
instructional.
dinosaur. When I was there, we called it mentoring.
I
And-
shared,
And I was mentored by a couple of really tough people when I first got them.
in looking at, after I got the list, and actually before I got the list, but after we got the last list, I asked for certifications, a list of the certifications for the instructional coaches, just as I was processing, like, what happens if we don't have enough teachers, and after listening to the task force the last time, what happens if we don't have enough people? Where is the fluff? And so I just shared that with you all. The list of the certifications of those people are in that email packet that I just gave you, just for your visual.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, we seldom disagree. But I see one coming.
All right, next up, we have the Assistant Superintendent report from Dr. Terry Lorenz.
Just a couple brief updates on some things. I don't know if you noticed when you came in, but the lockers are out of the commons out here. They really got that looking good. I hadn't got a chance to see it. It looks even better when there's a little bit of darkness out here with the lights shining out of the trophy case across the way. But the lockers are out of here. They're installed over at Beaker. It looks really good in the locker room over at Beaker now, too. So, if you- yeah.
That's great.
If you get a chance to get by there sometime, peek your head down there. The coaches are all excited because before there was a lot of lockers, it was dark, and you couldn't see all the things that were going on back in there. And now it's all against the wall, and you can, one look and you can see the whole room. So the coaches were excited about that. Let's see, Spainhour Progress. The roofers were on their roofing whenever I left at 5:30 this evening, still roofing. So they're about to get the roof buttoned up. The painter started working this week. They got worked yesterday, I believe, put some primer coat on, and today they were starting to put finish coat. So the electricians are working their way up out of there. Most of the other contractors are up out of there. So we're bringing painters. Painters are starting to come up through there. The tile for the floor is going to be in this week. I'm anticipating we're going to start seeing some tile hit the floor before too much longer. So then the parking lot is starting to, the curb's being laid down, weather permitting. They'll be laying more and more of the pavement. Had a little bit of an issue by the area where the new kitchen expansion is going to be. There's a wet area in there. Had to get engineers back in. They're developing a little bit different system. They're gonna have to take some stuff out, put some stuff back in. You were asking Christy about compaction. That's a place that's a real issue right in there. That luckily it's not, the big foundation's not sitting on top of it, but that was a little bit of a hitch, but we're working through it. Block guys, I don't know. I think within a few weeks they're making strides. We get a few weeks of dry, and I think you're going to see it getting close to getting buttoned up for the block. So we're at or ahead of where we talked about last month. So I feel good about that. The remodeling is just about done over at Northwest. They remodeled a bathroom. TLC needed a bathroom, so we've got them a bathroom remodeled downstairs. They got the electrical, the paint crew came in. The custodial maintenance came in, cleaned the room up for the new print shop. Custodial came in, got the floors ready. Painters came in and painted the walls. They did that all magically in about 3 or 4 days. Print shop's ready to be moved into at Northwest. So.
And when do you think, when is the print shop moving?
Well, they are, it's all on a RICO schedule. They do it, so they want to move the machines. And the reason why we moved it right now, so I didn't have to pay the $2,500 I had to the last time when we moved from out there to in here, we could move, there are machines and we can move them, but we break them, we have to pay for them. And so they are on, it's kind of on their schedule, but they're gonna keep here.
I just feel like we need to be on top of that. If teachers are starting to prepare and are gonna be, we need to make sure we don't have a hiccup where teachers are waiting on copies for the print shop to be moved. And
Right.
I
Yeah,
just-
no,
we
that's,
need to
I
be
don't,
on
I'm
top of
not
that.
anticipating that. It's,
Certainly,
they,
we just need to be on top of it, so
yeah.
we're not.
no,
Dr. Lorenz, can I
Yes.
go back a few? You said the tile's coming in, that means it's ordered and it's in stock, or we already have it in storage and it's being put
It's
in?
supposed to be delivered the 24th.
The
We had
24th, okay.
Yeah, we had an issue on tile. The company that we originally got the tile from kept saying it was gonna be here, until about 2 weeks ago.
So that's gonna be this Friday? This Friday, for July 24th, correct?
Yeah, it's, I don't think it's
This Friday
Saturday.
is the 24th?
Friday, yeah,
Yes.
24th.
I just wanna make sure it's July.
Supposed to be, yeah, supposed to be coming in this week.
Okay,
Unless something, you never know. There's always trouble sometimes with trucks and drops and,
well, I just wanna make sure
Yeah.
that the tile was in stock.
it
and
is now.
being
Well, the
delivered.
other kind wasn't, and we had to switch over
Okay.
to an Anderson tile, and it is, and it's on its way, so.
Okay, and then, so also, do you have an estimated end date still? Do we know anything on when this project is gonna be completed?
Yeah, what I sent out to you was from Ryan. The last schedule that he had was still the one he was working from. He's planning on, well, I think the majority of the work will be done that last week of August, and he's planning on handing us the keys the first week of September.
Okay.
That's still not in stone, because we're still gaining on that. I still think we're gaining on that, so we'll see.
Good.
Yeah, I was reading a lot of, we're not here, and excuses about the weather and things like that. So I'm going to keep asking that.
Sure.
And to keep making sure that we're on.
Yeah, every 2 weeks I
Worry
meet-
about having our kids in those classrooms.
Every 2 weeks, we religiously, every 2 weeks since the project started, we have a
Okay.
construction meeting, and they give me we look at the weather report, we look at the construction finish, and what you see in the last update I gave you was the same one I
Yes.
see, so I passed
Would you
that.
mind sharing that
I
bi-weekly?
will,
Going forward?
I will. I'll share you, yes, I will.
Thank
Not a
you.
problem.
Christie, I don't
And
think
Matt
the
had asked,
weather-
I'm sorry.
I don't think the weather's an excuse. That's the way it is. I mean, that company can't monitor the weather, so,
Well, you're right.
you know.
But we also, just working day, but you gotta count that in when you give an end date.
Yeah,
We don't
I got
have an
that.
end date, let's just be real. We should have had an end date.
But the
we
weather's
don't.
not an excuse for it.
Right. Accountability is where I'm at, Ed.
Yes, I will pass all that on to you. I keep copies of, well, Troy helps me keep on track, because I've got so much paperwork flying at me, but we've got every 2-week meeting that I've had, we keep a hard copy of it on file, so. Let's see, the IA, the heat exchanger on the 20-ton IA unit is crashed. I kind of had a little talk with Matt. We had a couple of options. We could have just replaced the heat exchanger. The system's about 13, 14 years old. After I talked with Matt a little bit, and I wasn't even sure if we could still get the model of heat exchanger it needed. I went ahead and put out for bid the whole cooling system and the heat exchanger in one. I didn't want to get a heat exchanger if we found one, and then in a few years we have turnaround, and then we've lost that money because it wouldn't do any good for us. So the bid that's out, that you'll see the next time we meet, is for a 20-ton heat exchanger. I've got 3 or 4 people looking at it, giving me bids right now, so we're still actively pursuing bids on that.
When does it close on the bids?
Then is it 30th at noon? So, yeah. Let's see. The tech, moving crews and the tech, just quick, they are wrapping it up. The tech guys aren't. The moving crew is wrapping up the move, and now they're starting to help in the buildings, help teachers sort of unpack as more and more of them start coming into the buildings. The tech guys are still scrambling to get all the equipment settled and ready to roll for the school year.
So the moving crew's busy with moving still?
Well, not the move. They're helping do several different things. We've shifted them around a little bit. Some of them, they're doing a little bit of help, a little bit of extra work for me. They're doing a little bit of work for Matt. And any of the principals who've asked for help with teachers who were trying to unpack or whatever, we're sending a few of them that way too.
So I would consider that extra, but not really extra. So are we using those people for, when we were able to go look at the schools, we saw lots of eyesores immediately. Are we using those people in that extra staff time to address those?
We're working on things to make things better, that's for sure.
Let me ask you a question. What work is being done on the Tudor house then? It looked like landscaping today.
Yeah, the dead limbs the dead bushes were out in front of there. We pulled them out a while back. We have some mulch that we have, it's stockpiled in the back. We're gonna get some fabric down and put a little bit of mulch around the edge of that, just to kind of dress it up a little bit, because it looks so trashy there from before. They also were helping out at the roadway. There's a lot of trees growing up in the bush out there. I'm just trying to make it presentable. Whenever we can open up that place out there, make the frontage a little bit more presentable. So they've been helping me with a little bit of that too, the extra help. And that's, I'm having a barbecue for my summer help next Thursday at noon. That'll be most of the summer help's last day. So I had an opportunity here for a week or so to have them help us work on a few extra things. So next week will be most of the end for them.
I wonder if I'm alone on the board in thinking that prioritizing things that are in the classroom or that are within school buildings might be more important than.
It's always where we go first.
Okay, so that's all done, every conceivable thing that's on?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, you can never have everything conceivably done,
Yeah.
but as the need by principal, they,
Oh, so it's the principal's.
if the principal has need for the extra help, we're dropping them right in there. We have been dropping them in there too. The principal's been asking, we've been sending extra help to assist them. So
Great.
that's the first message. Normally by now, we would probably start dropping off some summer help in this week and not next week, but I'm a little bit nervous with everything so fluid that I mean, if we think I need to go ahead and start dropping them, we can start dropping them, but I really wanted to be as ready for teachers as that they're all the buildings are just now getting released. We'll have 2 more released this week. As they're being released, those teachers are coming back in. As they come back in, we're sending those summer helpers to help adjust that. We only have, I don't have Mike's not here with me, but we have 2 buildings, I believe, that are open. 2 more are open up this week. They will be completely done with them. They're waxed out. I think Benton's one. I think Beaker's one. They will be waxed out. As they're waxing out, he's letting those principals know, those principals are letting those teachers know, we're seeing more and more bodies come to the buildings. As we're getting to the point where we're almost putting full-time one of the summer helpers with a building now, because there's that many people coming back. That's the reason why I hung on to them, probably 1 extra week than I normally would, is the move. So, any other questions about that?
Yeah, what plans do they have for like that gazebo out there?
I'm sorry?
The gazebo at Spinghauer?
Yeah, that's not
It's
ours.
like
That's
really
not ours.
wobbly.
That one's not ours.
So
Yeah.
we talked about outdoor classes there. I mean, before that happens, I think.
That's not ours?
Not until the buildings come down.
Not
There's
until-
10 acres in the
not
building.
until
Well,
we take the middle.
that leads me into 2 questions I ask every week or every month. Any progress from the city as far as getting the funds to remove those buildings?
I don't have any hard facts, but there's a lot of conversation going on about a particular avenue.
My
And I-
understanding is Aaron's Construction out of St. Louis has been contracted to come in and remove those buildings as well as the old hospital in the city. My question about that would be, my understanding is that's gonna be very quick. And so, does that interfere with our school year? If that big machinery's on those roads and those streets out there,
No, it's
and
fine.
we've got kiddos out there, what does that look like? So, we probably need to be in touch with the city and
That road
find
is
out
so
what their plan
narrow,
is.
I can't
I know
even
that,
track a vehicle on it.
that company was in town today, so
Well,
I know
that
that
takes care of
that's.
my second question, because my second question was gonna be, what if they default? Can we do it for the
Yes.
money that we're gonna get? But that's all right. Good. Took care of that. I'm done.
I think I had a question about, it didn't really click to me that we were putting in a bathroom at Northwest.
Putting a what?
A
bathroom?
bathroom at
Yeah.
Northwest. What's the approximate cost on that project? It just now
It's
clicked to me.
It's probably I don't know, the bathroom's probably about a 4x4. We've got some 2x4s and some sheet rock in it in my guy's time, and then a shower kit. So I don't know what a shower kit is, but, I mean, probably less than, the total package is probably less than a couple $100.
I've got a couple bathrooms you can put in.
They took full advantage of the Hoot House's bathroom before.
That's why I was thinking
And
about
we-
the change in
we
location,
really-
now we're adding that cost.
Yeah, that was the only one thing that really that was prohibitive when they went over there, and that bathroom kind of solved all of the problems, so.
Okay,
That was the reason for the bathroom installation.
all right, thank you.
Any others before I move on? Was that another?
No, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. The transition from our ISP providers from Mornet to Bluebird is complete. We've had several different transitions. One was our ISP provider. We will be able to apply for E-rate savings this year and the savings this year would be about $11,000. So just changing that provider, we got cheaper service, plus we will be able to control our own destiny on E-rate funding. And before it went through Mornet, we didn't get it at all. That was a part of the deal. So we dropped them. Bluebird, we've got it set up. Securely is in place. That's our on and off campus filtering system. They're still working on a few configuration things. I'm sure people have felt a little hitchy when they're trying to get in and get going, but eventually it will line out.
Will there be a need for any PD on Securely to help the teachers navigate that?
That's a good question for Keeper. I'll ask. I don't think so. I think it's pretty intuitive. He has sent out some help guide on instructional sheet. It's a lot like the same type of thing we do, that Matt does with a School Dude, where there's a 2 or 3 step process where they have to, but yes, I'll double check that, but I know there's already been some things sent out. The last thing I had on here, just talk briefly about, was the board had asked about the machines, the machine count. I sent them out the document with the machine count. There was a question asked last month about 1-to-1. It depends a lot on how many grade levels you include in that. If you went down from 3rd through 12th grade, and what myself and Keeper both think is probably an appropriate rotation on machines would be about 4 years. The initial cost, if you picked up machines for all 3rd through 12th graders, you'd be looking at about $600,000. The annual ongoing to replace every year, you keep rotating, would be about $155,000 to $160,000. That's 3rd through 12th. The number of machines that I sent to you, that the total student mobile devices was 895. Just wanted to caution you a little bit on that number. That number includes some Chromebooks that are currently in our inventory that Google is no longer supporting. They're older Chromebooks, and so Chrome's back then, they've changed a little bit, and that's kind of why I've kind of gotten a little bit more in favor with Chrome. I wasn't in favor of Chrome before because that's the way they used to treat you. When the model got done, you were done. But now they're giving education opportunity a 5-year window to not do that to you. So, but we do have a number of Chromebooks that are in need of are going to be phased out over the next several years, and a number of that 895 are streams that are also in probably a 2-year window of being phased out. So I'm guessing, but roughly probably half of that number. The only other thing to be cautious about is when you look at mobile devices that we currently have. So we have been working hard the last 3 years to build up our infrastructure and our network to make it robust enough to handle the more and more things that are coming across it. And as we've increased the capacity of our network, the device count has kind of taken a little bit of a hit, and that's why we're moving towards addressing. But we're in a good place. It's just a matter of machine and machine count. The labs that we have been putting in for the last 2 years, which also is some of this student numbers, we have been pushing more towards mobile labs and not hard desktop labs. So when you look at the student count right now, you have to understand that some of those are setting in labs or about to be setting in labs. So if we check those out, it will be difficult to have, if we go into some sort of flip back and forth between home and school, if we use all these numbers to check out, we won't have the mobile carts to be in the building. So we just have to watch that as we move forward. When we think about what we're going to do and how many. Oh, and the one last thing I have before I stop on all that, SHI, back earlier in the year, was the company who won the bid for the lowest Chromebooks. We are still waiting on 389 of those Chromebooks. It's been a struggle, I'm not going to lie, with SHI. Keeper and I are not married to SHI. They were just the company that won the bid because they were the low bid back when we did it. We're not opposed to looking at other companies. We still expect this 389 to arrive in August. They were supposed to arrive in August after, they're claiming COVID and lots of different things, but they should have gotten here before COVID hit us, but it didn't. And then they jumped on the wave, and everybody else is jumping in line to get these Chromebooks, and I think we got bumped once, and that didn't make either one of us happy. But I'm anticipating those 389, and the numbers show you where 150 of them are going to high school, and then they're spread out over several different places.
Have we paid for that yet? Sorry.
No, that's the same
Well, same question? Yes, we
Have
are.
we paid for that
Yeah.
yet?
Well, yes, the PO's been created and generated. That's how the order got started, so. Yeah, they started off, part of the bid spec was, we don't want to repurpose machine, basically, a rebuild. And, when they sent it, it wasn't a rebuild, but it wasn't the current model, which was gonna put us 2 steps closer to being out the door. And when they came in, Keeper turned them right around. We canceled the PO, restarted it. That was they thought they were gonna slip us a Mickey with those machines, and Keeper caught it, and we just turned them back around. Well, I think they played a little bit of, we'll slow your roll a little bit since you called us out on that. But we bid for a particular machine, and we're gonna get that particular machine.
I think this information will be really good for whoever fills out the application. The money that DESI's releasing for the broadband and the remote learning, this information is going to be really vital. And I would encourage if you guys, building leaders, if they feel like this is a little uncomfortable at all, I would encourage communication about that, because getting this stuff and getting that application returned back to DESI as soon as that app comes out, that could really significantly benefit our district and the kiddos and families in it. I thought it was interesting talking about these numbers when we looked at the student comments and how many of the kiddos said, I'm gonna have trouble getting on because I have to share my computer, or my phone or whatever, or I may not have service, we run them out of data or whatever. So this is really vital if we really are looking at a partial online opportunity. So thank you, Dr. T, for this.
Any other questions?
Nothing.
It also shows that we're significantly off of, if we had 1,698 students on a bus and we only have half of 895, we're a long ways from 1-to-1. So we have seen that. The new members have been badgered and asked about 1-to-1 systems in this district, and we are well under 1-to-1 in the district. So that's a concern.
Gotta have the numbers before you can have the plan.
You're right.
Okay, next we'll hear from our superintendent.
Thank you. Before I get started on my report, I would like to ask, at the bottom of the plan, as you saw, there was one entry there that said that a list or a document of expectations for teachers would be coming out relatively soon, and that will be. I would suggest that the survey is not filled out until you see that list, because 85% of what was on this the comments that I saw is on that list. So, I mean, it was there and said that it's forthcoming, but I understand that you didn't realize that a lot of things that were asked would be on that list, but they are covered. So that is coming out. And I just wanted to talk about what the big picture is for the goals of the board. The very first one is to provide a safe environment for the well-being and success of our students. And to do that, of course, the board has taken steps and worked overtime and thought and discussed ways that we could handle this current crisis. So we are really thinking about what to do, how to handle, and how to make life and school better for students and for staff. I've heard a lot about how late we are. Hannibal and this district are the only two in our conference that have released their plan. Everyone else is waiting because no one knows what's going to happen. If you would have asked me a month ago, what do I feel about school, or how do I feel that we'll be doing, my answer would have been totally different than it is today. If you ask me a month from now, I don't know what that will be. So unfortunately, final decisions can't be made today. They probably can't be made tomorrow because we just don't know. And it's too fluid and it's moving too quickly for us to say what is definitive. But we will continue to make, and of course, when we make our decisions, our students' success and students' happiness and students' welfare, of course, is our top priority. The return to learning plan,
was a collective effort of me, my administrative team, the Board of Education, and we have some rock stars with us this evening. The Saline County Health Department is here with us this evening. They were our advisors, as well as Dr. Darren Haug from Fitzgibbon was an advisor on this plan. So I have asked Tara if she would come and share some thoughts with us this evening. They've been so helpful to us, and I so appreciate the partnership that we have with them. This would have been much scarier without them. So, Tara, thank you so much for coming, and I know you have a couple of remarks.
Yeah, maybe too many. I'm gonna stand over here and turn so I can kind of see and social distance at the same time.
Can we
Can-
hand you a microphone?
Sure.
Can I let you just have my seat?
Sure.
Dr. T, do we have any
It's just
lapel
what everyone needs to
microphones?
hear. They hear me enough.
Huh?
Yeah, just turn the microphone towards you,
Sure,
Tara.
we've got some lavalier microphones somewhere.
There you go. We'll work on getting some portable mics for the next one.
Huh?
I said, we'll work on getting some.
They were just talking about microphones. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm messing things up again. I'm
And I
sorry.
would like to invite the girls up here as well with me. Again, communication is very important, and we have tried to initiate that since February 17th, 2020, which if I would have known then what I know now, I don't know that I'd be sitting here. No, I'm just teasing. So communication is a huge aspect to how we're going to get through this. We don't have the answers, and we're not going to have the answers for a little bit, but we're always going to have recommendations that's going to be the best for yourself and the students. Again, we have questions. I just called the state today and said, this isn't going to work. At the end of the day, how can we do our job with contact tracing and we have students in school? We can't have the children in the 3rd grade and the teacher quarantine. That's a huge issue that we are having to deal with, and we do not have those answers yet. If they relieve some of that rules and regulations, then that changes everything. If they do change that, that could be in another 3 weeks, and that changes your all's entire lifestyle. It changes ours. So flexibility and respect of other people's positions and decision-making is the best thing that we can do right now. We are not going to have the answers, and we're not gonna make everyone happy. Yeah, it's just, it's one of those no-win situations. People are gonna have to respect social distancing. They're gonna have to respect each other in this situation, as well as what we can all do to guide and try to make things better. So again, that's where in our office, we can only provide you with the current things that are going on here in Saline County. At the end of the day, we can verify everything that's going on. We can verify all testing, we can verify all positives, we can verify and stand strong against Saline County and what we're doing and providing here. I think we're providing a lot, which is testing, which we're showing across the board what everyone else should possibly be seeing if testing was an equal amount. That's a good thing. It's a really good thing. And an honest thing. You know, I mean, we're really seeing what's going on. Again, that puts all of you guys, as well as ourselves, to make these tough decisions. Again, I think you are gonna have to do, as teachers, what's best for you in providing those kids to be in the classroom. Mental health is a huge thing, and it's going to be a huge thing for the next year until this goes away. And I'm highly concerned about mental health. And if 90% of the kids are saying they want to come back to school, then I love that. I love that they need that interaction amongst people. We all need that. So how can we provide a safe environment for these kids? Are we going to provide a 100% safe environment for everyone? No. There's a risk in absolutely anything and everything that we do every single day. Until we decide to make that a personal choice, that I'm going to respect your values and I'm going to go to school and they either want me to wash my hands every 30 minutes, they want me to wear a mask in the hallways, whatever that might be, that's going to be the decision and the choices that we all need to respect. I think that's the biggest thing here. You're learning to, this is kind of something today we talked about. Respect is respecting people, but it's also respecting the virus. The virus is not going to go away. We clearly know that until we get a vaccine and then, hit or miss at that point. But if we learn to respect the virus, then we're going to learn a lot more, and we're going to figure out what we can and can't do. Our job is to, let's see if I can say this right, calm the feared and fear the calm. You guys see exactly what we're trying to do on a daily basis. So we've got this middle ground here, just like you guys do, as far as how you are going to open up school. And how you guys decide to do that will be the best decision that you guys can make from that moment on. This is an ongoing, changing thing every single day. Welcome to our world. We learn a lot of stuff at 3 o'clock when the governor used to come on. We're like, wait a second, that's not what, yeah. So CDC changes their guidelines quite a bit. And physicians and professionals change their decisions quite a bit and the solutions. So we have to be ready for flexibility. And I think that is the one thing that we've probably learned here is flexibility and respect, amongst others. I don't know, what do you guys have to say? I mean, we can talk about this for hours and then we don't want to talk about it, but but we can. So I don't know, anything I'm missing, anything I should say. These girls work directly with our positive cases. They have touched and contacted and followed up with all 372 positive cases that we've had here in Saline County. So, and I have one other one that's not here. So, and that is huge. So they take it, they don't take your job any lighter than what you do. But we also do have to figure out how we can learn to respect the virus. So what does that mean for you? Again, you have to answer that question. I can't answer that question for you. You have to figure out how you can go back to some sort of normalcy in that classroom where you feel confident in what you're doing and how you are executing it in your classroom. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I'm here, we're here all the time. We're just a phone call or a text away. I have always said from the beginning, just like you guys did, we're better together. Now we have to add that 6 feet apart, as you can see on our stickers. But if there's anything that we can do, I would be more than happy to help you guys and assist you guys in this to make it successful. That's what we have to do is, as you said in goal 1, we want to provide a successful and safe environment for our kids. And I believe that that is getting them back in the classroom, hopefully in a safe environment. Some people are going to choose different, and that's okay. That's all right. But we can only provide you with those tools of safety and measures to move forward. So,
Tara, did you and your team review the return to learning plan?
Yes. And honestly, we really have had a really good communication with Marshall Schools, along with everyone. I mean, again, we started back in February and then realized, ooh, this is getting a little bit more intense. So we need to kind of figure out what we can do to get a handle on it here in Saline County. Again, we showed our colors. I mean, we did what we needed to do here. We were testing and we were we were showing that. And that's kind of a catch-22 at the same time, you know, I mean, so, but I'm really excited and really proud of what we have done here in Saline County, because overall, there's a lot. We've educated, we have learned ourselves a lot, that we're able to connect with other health departments and say, hey, this is what we've learned. And so, anyway, that's a whole nother deal, but.
So you're confident in the return to learn plan? The steps in it?
As much as we can be right now. And again, I say that for anything and anybody that's wanting to do anything, whether it's, you know, whatever that might be. If you're confident enough in this plan and you are ready to say, this is it, and you know exactly how you can defend it if something does get skewed, because it's going to. Life, it's going to happen. But again, that goes back to the flexibility of things. You know, we're not gonna have everything in black and white. It is definitely not going to be the case. We don't have a handbook in life, let alone how can we manage to have exactly everything down that's what's supposed to happen if this happens and then this happens. So, I think it's very feasible, and there's always gonna be times that it's gonna need to be tweaked a little bit, but, I think as far as the guidance of what the state has given us, and again, we were shocked when Desi and the governor was like, contact your local health department to help you. Sure. So that's why we bring everybody in, and that's why we have had this communication going. So it always helps. We're not gonna have all the answers. We're not gonna have everything then and now, and again, it could be like certain situations. It was okay then, but it's not okay now, you know? And that's where we're at, and that's why we contacted the state, and we are saying, this doesn't work if we're gonna go this route. So either we need to lift some things, we need to add things, I mean, you know, I don't have the answer for it. I do, but I can't say it out loud. No. I feel like I have an idea of what should happen, but until I can execute that with higher ups, I better stop.
So when going forward, you're going to always be in contact with us as a district moving forward. I mean, there's.
We work 7 days a week since April 1st, so you guys can always contact us.
And you're gonna be contacting us as things arise, because you all monitor cases, you're gonna monitor trends, and you're gonna say, hey, it looks like maybe this building's having an issue, or this is going on, and give us recommendations as we continue to go.
Right, and that's where we're gonna have to get more information from the state, because the way we're doing our job now as far as contact tracing is we get a positive and we make contact with that family, we will isolate them and their entire family. So again, when we look at quarantining a family, and let's say I'm picking on 3rd grade, okay, so here we go, we've got this positive in 3rd grade. A close contact is considered anyone within 6 feet for longer than 15 minutes. So is that going to be the entire classroom? Is that going to be within that bubble? It's going to be the entire classroom right now. So, right? So then you look at quarantining the entire family along with that. That definitely brings up, so we have to kind of look at how we're gonna look at things. Are we going to look at positive numbers? Are we going to look at hospitalizations? Are we going to look at death toll? I mean, where is that line? And we don't quite know yet. But yes, to answer your original question, because I'm really good with getting off the subject, is we are in contact, we're gonna be in contact on a weekly basis. We're starting up our COVID team, I'm not sure what to call it, but we've kind of been on a little bit of a little vacation there for a little bit, because there was a little bit of a lull in the county and with things, and at the end of the day, things haven't changed. The virus is still here, we still need a social distance, and we still need to do that within our business and outside of everyday life. So there's only so much of that you can say without it getting really repetitive on a weekly basis, so.
Now, we could conceivably go through every little bit of the plan, right? And everybody's got, like, sitting here right now, because I'm thinking of my list of, my list of notes about the plan. So what about this, what about that? But probably the primary concern that I've seen so far, in reading those survey results, has been about masks. And so I take it that in reviewing the plan as it is, there wasn't an alarm for you about how we are addressing masks in the plan. And I say that as somebody who is a mask wearer and who would love it if you instead said, nope, you gotta require masks for everybody everywhere all the time, right? Like I would, but I genuinely want to know what the medical experts say, so.
So everything that you read and everything that we can compile, it is highly recommended if you cannot social distance. So, again, we can only say that so many times, and people are gonna listen or they're not gonna listen. I mean, again, it just kind of goes back to the whole respect thing. You know, I have taken my mask off so you guys can hear me better, but when I was sitting over here, I had my mask on unless I'm looking down and I'm taking it off. You know, I'm sitting here. So again, that's out of respect of everyone within that position.
So it sounds like as we start to develop, as we're working closely with our building level administrators about how social distancing is going to look in their buildings, that could be something that, well, we can't really social distance in this classroom, so we want to lean toward masks.
Right, so if you do that, and that's great, it's not if that happens, there's, again, I have to think beyond just this, and just like you. So when masks are required, there's other things that then you're responsible for. Making sure they're wearing them properly, making sure they're not playing with them. Is the teacher going to get onto them more so for wearing it or not? So that's the things that you have to, I can't answer for anybody. Those are just things that I can do as we see things that this could be a problem. And you know what? In the end, it's probably worth it. Wear that mask and it'll be fine. But I have to think of everything. I can't just think of one particular.
Yes.
So we were also going to open school tomorrow. How important is temperature checking at entry points?
Girls, you want to answer that? I mean, I think it's always important, but yeah.
Well, we've got some $40,000 cameras we're gonna be looking at in another 15 minutes, so I wanted to have your opinion on what it sounded like.
Would you say yes or no? I mean,
And how much money is it again?
I was looking for a real recommendation without giving you the punchline.
Yeah.
I think all of those things together, you know, whether it's social distancing, wearing a mask, taking temperatures, you know, all of the different things that you have in place in your plan, it's the combination of those things together that make the difference. So I think anything that we can do to help keep people safe and keep these kids in school is the best thing we can do.
so I'm curious. You say that anybody that's been within 15 minutes, 6 feet for 15 minutes. You've been over there, and I've been over here. I've not been within 6 feet of you for 15 minutes. Why is it the whole classroom?
Well, and this is where things get kind of independently, this is where our job gets hard.
Sure.
Because we can come in and evaluate, and we can go in this size of a room, and we can look at it, you know. And that's exactly what we're saying, is we don't have the answers, and that's why we have called upon our leaders to say, if you want us to do this, that's great, but how are we going to execute this? Are we going to lessen some of the criterias? Is it that it's okay, you're just gonna be a 6-foot distance, or, I mean, we need to follow whatever we're told, and right now, that's what we're told.
Okay.
So yeah.
So they're just
it's-
saying classroom, like
It-
entire
well-
space?
And you're talking about enclosed space with
Yeah.
what's moving there.
I think with smaller children, they are all over the place. They're up in each other's business all the time, and I
Sure.
think that's kind of the thought process.
Okay, so just a blanket statement for all ages. Fair enough.
I think it's just guidance.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
This is what CDC gives us, because they have to give us something.
Okay.
We have to- Part of it is that some of these things we're doing are things that, so that people can feel like they have some power in it. You know, like they have, that they can make a difference in what they do. Because there's a lot of data out there, and, you know, when this thing first came out, they said it was just droplet, and if you were 6 feet apart, you know, you were gonna be fine, and, you know, there's more and more data saying it's aerosolized, if you're sharing the same airspace in a small room, are you a contact? Well, it's kind of looking that way, probably, you know, so it's changing all the time, and so all we can go with is what they're telling us right now, and so we hope we're making the right decision.
Absolutely. I mean, at the beginning of this, everyone was afraid to open their mail. We don't even talk about the mail anymore, you know, so, you know, that's what we're learning, and that's what we're dealing with and trying to, figure out all aspects of it, because public health is broad. It's not just even pandemic, you know, I mean, we've got school shots that we need to start giving those kiddos, but COVID has taken over our lives, so that's just as important to get that information out, and, so, anyway.
It's taken over our lives, and we're not trying to educate children.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine. Honestly, we really do, we really do those things.
Yeah.
Because it's a tough spot.
Yeah, it is.
March, April, May, I'm not a teacher, my child has COVID, so that's, I'm telling all about COVID. He doesn't have to wear the mask to go into Walmart if he wants the toy. You know, but I can make it for a 2-hour-long meeting without feeling like I'm with that. So I don't know how my child is going to do it for 8 hours a day.
It's tough, absolutely, and I think, again, it's gonna go back to, here's where we're gonna start, and we're always gonna learn that, okay, that didn't work, and we're gonna have to, you know, again, yeah, so flexibility, respect, all of that good stuff, you know.
Well, and just like, you know, since April, we've been following a certain guideline on isolation and sickness symptoms. They walked in this morning like, no, girls, it changed.
Yep.
Monday, it's different. You know, so every couple of days, something else changes. And you just have to be so flexible, you're like, oh, that's what we're doing now, okay. And you have to work with it.
Even if you don't agree.
Sometimes you don't. And, you know, little kids are going to go hug their teachers. And they miss them. And that's one of the greatest things about being a teacher, is having that love from your kids, no matter what grade. So, if it's a rule like, hey, if you're gonna come up and hug me, that's fine, but put your mask on, okay, bud? Not a big deal. Separate them out a little bit where you can. And my kid doesn't want to catch COVID because I'm the COVID Nazi. So, you know, and then obviously people can dismiss stuff themselves, and if our kids are educated as far as what they need to do as well, and they see their friends doing it, then they're gonna do it. I bought a cool mask, an official mask, because he's gonna wanna wear whatever his buddies are wearing. You know, because that's just how kids are, but if we can, you can't separate everybody 6 feet. Not with the mass amount of kids that we have, but you can make it better than what it is and make adjustments. And if the teacher doesn't feel comfortable coming in, do what you can to make it comfortable for yourself. We all have to adapt with our jobs.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for
Sorry, I
taking
didn't
my
mean to talk so
calls
long.
all the time.
Oh,
I
anytime.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Tara and I are in a group of city leaders that we meet next Tuesday evening. We're going to talk about going back to school and what, listen to their suggestions, and we're going to let them know what we're thinking. It'll probably be totally different on Tuesday than it is today.
Absolutely, right. I
So-
mean, so, and again, I think it's better that we all do it as Saline County School Districts. And I know you guys are much larger than everyone else, but we've all got the same concerns, the same classrooms, we all have teachers, we all, you know. So I think bouncing things off of others is the best thing that we can do right now, so. Because if I had all the answers, I wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be at CDC saying, this is what you need to do. No.
Thank you.
So, thanks, Sarah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Maybe you should be.
Thank you, guys.
I like your, I like very much what you were saying, because our motto is be ready, but be flexible.
Yes.
So, okay,
2020 has definitely provided that for
thank
us.
you, thank you. We will let you know by August 5th. I can't tell you that it won't change 2 times, 3 times before then. But by August 5th, we know we can't wait any longer than that, and we will let you know what, of course, we'll discuss this with the board to let you know what phase we're going to enter, how this is all going to work out, what we're thinking. We've got a lot of work to do between now and then. Talking about the phases, of course, and I'm going to go through this quickly because you've seen the plan. Phase 1 is traditional school organization with safety precautions. There are options for virtual learning. By law, there's optional for virtual learning anytime for any student with any parent, as long as the school agrees that that's in the best interest of the student. Those companies, Launch and MOVA, have been with us now for a while. We have several children in those programs, but we also have an option for Marshall teachers to teach virtually, and we're going to be working on that and how that will look. We know that Marshall teachers are the best ones to teach Marshall kids. Phase 2 is the increase or moderate speed of the virus, and still we have options for virtual learning in that phase. Then phase 3 is the blended teaching, on-site and distance learning. In phase 3, Dr. Haug, this is not in the plan that I sent you, because Dr. Haug has let us know that in phase 3, masks should be required. So although they are very strongly recommended in phase 1 and phase 2, in phase 3, we would like for masks to be required. Phase 4 is the total at distance teaching and learning, all virtual classrooms, all at distance learning for everyone. There will be no students at the district unless the central office is in on that conversation. There will be small groups, I know, and some students who will come in individually, but we ask the principals to please check with us on that. The teachers will be in school with us for 20 hours a week. That's for collaboration, assessment, feedback. We want to make sure that all the kids in 2nd grade are with all the other kids in 2nd grade. So that's going to take some work on teachers' parts, and so we're going to ask in phase 4 that teachers come in for 20 hours a week. The mask will be required at school unless working alone. Then the stay-at-home order by the governor, of course, total at-distance teaching and learning, no students or staff at school. Parents do have the choice of virtual education, whether it be from our teachers or from a company. That, by the way, for those companies, we send our state funding to those companies. So the companies are very aggressive, and I expect that they will be very, very aggressive with the virus. But they tell parents, oh, this is free. Don't worry, it's free. It is free for the parents, but the school pays. So it's very expensive. We believe that Marshall teachers are better prepared and more invested in Marshall kids than teachers from another state or another country, even. I know that the programs are good ones. I don't argue that fact. I just think our Marshall teachers are better. The virtual students and on-site students need to be working on the same standards at the same time, doing the same thing. That's really important. And parents need to understand and respect and have faith in the fact that a fourth grade student will be learning the same as another fourth grade student, no matter how the delivery of instruction is. It's our expectation, now, this is just no, I shouldn't say expectation, it's my wish. It's my wish that parents could go to the website, see what their child and others are doing in the class. We are a long way from that, so I'm not saying that, that's gonna take a lot of work on our part, so I'm not saying that we're ready to up and do that right now. I just, once again, this plan is a draft, so we've got to continue on working on it, but shoot for that in the long run. Parents who are planning to keep their children at home need to let us know that by August the 7th. We really do need to know. Now, August the 5th, we're going to let you know what it's going to look like, how school is going to be. So by the 7th, parents need to let us know if their kids are going to stay home with them.
And when you're saying August 5th, and how, you're talking about what phase will be in?
Yes.
So
How we will come back.
currently can be looking at the phases. What would we say phase, if we started school today, what phase would we be in?
If we started today,
Yeah.
I would say 3, 4.
Sister, on the spot.
I'd have to talk to Tara
Yeah.
first.
I heard some twos over here from your church.
I know, I hear you. Well, because we have, and that's the hardest thing about this is that what we're talking about is what we talk with Kristen about every single time, so that's different from this. So we're probably saying in between a 2 and a 3 at this point, to really sit down and that's where we would like to, we just haven't had time to sit down as the health department and say, okay, guys, we're at a level 1 for us. This is what we consider a level 1. So then you guys can take that level 1 and go, okay,
Yeah.
they're here, so I think we should be here. Again, communication's always great, but, I really like what we did?
Our
The
conference.
Yeah, I really like those levels. I like how they have done the 1 through 5 and, it makes a lot of sense. It's not too extreme in there on what is currently happening at each level.
And we have practice with this because Kristen and Tara have been working closely together to set those levels for our activities and athletics this summer.
Well, the reason I ask that is so parents understand that they can be looking at, this is where we are today.
Right.
This is what it would feel like for you if we started tomorrow. How do you feel about that? Where does that fit in your world today? And then, I'm feeling like August 5th is, woo. That's scary to me to think that people
Yeah.
don't have a real clear, nobody has a real clear definition. I get why we don't. But I would encourage then for parents to be really looking at this plan and teachers so that we understand where we're at today. And if that's where we are really August 5th, then
What your comfort
this
level
is where your
Talking about
comfort
it.
level is in that plan.
Yeah, you're talking about a Wednesday morning and a Friday decision is what she's asking for.
Yeah.
So I want you all to think about this. It's a 2-day turnaround, just like we talked about, we got responses from a third of the teachers roughly, 30%. So we're gonna need those answers from the
And the reason, and I am not married to that, but the reason that I thought that would be sufficient amount of time is I would think the parents would know now whether their kids were going to stay home. But, we can certainly move that up or move the other back or whatever you want to.
It's important to know the head count of who wants to do the distant learning on a permanent basis, so we can actually structure our teachers, in our classrooms.
Well,
That's
wha-
important.
One thing that I wanted to say was that, well, I'm getting ahead of myself here. If a child enters virtual learning, they need to stay there for they need to stay there for that semester. They can't be bouncing in and out. That will make it way too hard on the teachers. And they wouldn't learn anyway that way. But
been standard in many districts that
Correct.
I've seen plans.
Correct. So if parents call and let us know that their child is going to be staying home, that means that they're planning on their child staying home through the first semester. So I think I put that in here.
I will warn, just based off of social media, that there are a number of parents that aren't going to make that decision until they know what decision we make.
Well, and I hope that they can look at the phases and see this, and this. I certainly can make a decision tonight, but I will tell you,
Well, it could change tomorrow.
the school districts in our conference they're not gonna even release their plan until the 7th. Because we just don't know. We do not know, and so we could, whatever the board says is what we do. And we can say what's going to happen, but honestly, I just don't know. I don't have enough information, I don't know.
We could start from here and adjust if we are hearing from families that,
Yeah, and we can, if things change day after tomorrow, we can change and when we hear from families
but we do need to, at some point, we're gonna have to draw the line so we can make a plan.
If there's
Right.
online learning, if there's an online potential in every phase, and a family knows right now that they are going to choose online learning, would it behoove them and help us if they just went ahead and made that acknowledgement to us?
they could email the principal, yes.
Yeah, I see, I'll recognize Ms. Gillespie.
Thank you, Dr. Meyer. Actually, the board has a survey that was sent out Thursday morning to parents only through their email. It was not sent out as a community link. It was just for our parents to kind of, because when we were discussing this at our admin meeting, we kind of felt like we were shooting in the dark. We weren't sure how many students were really, or families were considering online learning. And so I closed that this morning at 9 a.m. Mr. Carroll pulled it up right there. And I went through
This one?
and I'm sorry you didn't have it earlier. I wanted to give parents a long enough time to give us where, the question was, if today you had to choose how your student would go back to school. We had 518 responses, over, 925 students were represented in the survey. At the time at 9 a.m. this morning, 367, that might give or take, because I was literally counting through the lines of the survey. So around 365 to 370 students represented that their parents would be choosing online for them. At this time, looking at the numbers per grade level, it would be about a teacher per grade level that could be allocated for online NPS curriculum instruction. Again, this is only about a third of our population, and if you usually use a survey, then it would be a total third of 2,300 students that we could anticipate asking for online NPS or online instruction. But this would give us a place to kind of start the allocation of our personnel, as Mrs. Garner was asking about, to start making those decisions.
For those of you at home who can't hear Ms. Gillespie here, she's summarizing a return to learning parent survey that was closed. She's got this written down. I'm reading it here at 9 a.m., July 21st. So, and she's just going over some results with us. Out of 518 responses, 925 students represented. Approximately 367 students represented out of a total of 925. I'm just reading off of what's on the papers. So in other words, she's saying we might be able to use the results from this to predict that approximately, what, a third?
Approximately a third right now is represented.
One teacher out of each grade.
That seems to be a growing number,
So
too.
hold on, that a third is represented in the survey, and so.
That want online instruction.
That want online instruction.
I didn't fill this out because I didn't understand why we were getting a survey so quickly after the one we just filled out.
I wasn't sure.
We filled one out as a parent, and then the kids filled one out, and now we got another one to fill out. I didn't,
So this one, we did collect emails and parents' names So as the admin, we weren't sure, was it 200 second graders who are gonna be in seat and only 15 high schoolers or whatever, not that those numbers would be real. So it was to get a more, a better idea of how it looked at our grade level versus just a
Okay.
general population of our students.
Okay, thanks.
Did you have to log into a Gmail or something in order to be able to do this, complete this?
Yes, and that is.
So that's a concern too, that people don't have that access.
That was because it's, so, because if we didn't do that, they could turn in multiple responses.
Sure, I get it,
so-
I get it, I just, that's a concern, you know, some people don't have a Gmail access to be able to log in with that account.
So for those who might not have been able to hear, those of you who are streaming at home, Ms. Gillespie is saying that in this survey, folks had to use, had to sign in with Gmail so that we could track across grade levels and such. So, so it's information. Thank you.
Yes, and honestly, you didn't have to have a Gmail account, the email accounts are SBC Global, they're Outlook, they're all.
Oh, okay, so
emails.
just with an
Some
email.
folks were having some issues, and we tried to take care of those as we were able.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Who coordinates our virtual learning program? Is it done by the buildings or
It will be, our virtual learning will have to be done
who's
by buildings
coordinating it?
and by
who's in charge of
principals.
it? Who's in charge of it?
Charge it?
Yeah, who's in charge of it?
Oh, who's
running
in
it?
charge of it?
Yeah.
Well, Diane will be the central office person in charge of it, but actually, it will be, really, principals will be on the ground with it.
So, what does our curriculum look like for I mean, are we prepared for online learning through
That's
our
my-
curriculum?
That's where I was going with this. Are we,
The curriculum, the curriculum should be the same. So,
yeah, but do we have
so
it
what?
set up? Is it set it up? Is it set up with Google? Is it set up
Well,
with?
and that's what we are trying to get that time to give to the teachers so that they will be able to.
That was the teacher's concern. about
Yeah.
that, To the best of my understanding.
Okay, so I'm still back to, so we are or we are not prepared to teach to support our teachers to teach online with our curriculum the way that it's set up right this minute?
Right this minute?
Yeah.
No.
Because we've had since March to figure this out. I mean, we've had since March to know that we were gonna have some sort of online something, I feel like. And so, how long do we sit and spin our wheels and wait for online teaching to happen? It's happening. We've got to be proactive with this stuff. We know it's gonna happen.
Professional development is very important in that, and teachers were not allowed into the buildings to even begin that when they were here in the spring, and that is part of our professional development plan for when we return back to school.
Are we any closer on any hotspots? I just talked to Dr. T about, devices, but are we able to get 400 hotspots as well?
We can get
Looking at
hotspots, but we can't get hotspots in areas where there's no connectivity.
Connectivity.
Signal connection.
That's our problem.
However, part of that, part of
DESI
it.
grant, yes.
Yeah, that's for
I know.
broadband internet, and so
I know.
we could really maybe work with, we just gotta wait and get our hands on that though.
Yeah.
Right.
That doesn't help us today, unfortunately.
Yeah.
How long will that take once we get the dang money to do that?
Might be something for you
To plow
look at some
broadband
bids.
in out to the
Yeah,
country,
I mean,
2 or 3
I know we're
years.
in, yeah, I know, my point, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think MMU suspended internet connections.
They did,
Right
you
now.
can't even get it fixed already.
Right, they won't come into the building,
They
that's
won't,
right.
they won't install internet right now, so.
Okay.
Really?
No, they won't go in and install,
real
so a
signal
kiddo
issue.
loses internet, now they're down for eternity.
Notice that we are calling it distant learning because we realize there will still be some opportunities where students might need paper packets for that exact reason. That is why we're not calling it virtual learning, because it is distant. And so teachers will have to be prepared to also provide feedback through paper. I've spoken a lot with Mr. Thompson that if we were to go into full shutdown or even with private learning, that his bus drivers would be able to help in delivering and picking up those packets for feedback purposes on an ongoing basis, unlike what we had in the spring. So yes, conversation has been had, but until we know until we get teachers back in the buildings so that they can start planning and doing those things, I have full 100% faith in this entire staff that they can take on virtual learning if they're given the online learning as well as packet learning, if they're given that time to prepare for that. We have not been in the buildings to be able to provide that learning for our teachers and that support for our teachers. They have the curriculum, they just have to transfer it into
Dr. Mayor, I do have a question. I think getting the numbers and having parents commit is very important, so we can get that count. And then also, we need to evaluate what teacher is going to be able to do the virtual training. And maybe go back to what Ellen said at the last meeting that we had about finding out if there's some underlying health issues that would protect a teacher to be able to be that person that does that. So I think that's important for us to start that process, to be able to get those numbers so we can actually proceed going forward. Whether we know a phase or not, we need families to commit, that they know that no matter what phase I'm in, my kid's going to school.
And we have some of those families, I believe, in our community that already know where they sit.
You have a whole list of them right here.
Yes,
I
correct.
have email addresses and parents' names of 367 students and the grade levels of which they are.
Ms. Gillespie, are those hard commitments, or
Yeah,
was that just a survey?
It was a survey. I did not say that's what they're held to right
Right.
now.
Okay, I think that's what Barner's
Yeah,
talking
I want a
about.
hard commitment.
We
is
need
what
the
I'm looking-
contract, isn't there?
If
Yeah.
you're looking at one student, it's a lot different. Right now, I
Right.
feel like it's time that we do get a hard commitment because our numbers are so much higher than
Yes,
what we were.
I appreciate the survey, but that's exactly, I think that we need some hard numbers so we can move forward on everything.
And I think that at the building level, the principals will be the ones who will, and I'm sure with advice from Ms. Gillespie, will be the ones who will decide what teacher is the appropriate one to be a virtual teacher, an at-distance teacher, rather. We do have, and in the employee expectation page, it talks about if you have a condition that puts you at risk, then you need to talk to your building level administrator, because if a at-distance teaching position, if you are able to do that and you want to do that, then that's what you should do.
However, if they choose not to, because they don't want to do that and they want to be in their classroom,
Oh,
we
yeah,
need to make
yes,
sure that
yes.
we support
And
that also.
and not everybody can do it. It
Right,
looks like
right.
we're
We need to
one.
be on
It's-
both sides of that street.
But,
Yeah.
but if we have to lose, or not lose, excuse me, but take out 2 teachers per grade, then if we've got teachers that have identifiable risks, then it would only make sense to make those
Correct.
teachers.
For sure,
Correct,
for sure. Give them the first opportunity.
Right, right.
correct.
Okay.
This slide, oh, go ahead, sorry, Matt.
I just wanna say, I don't read a lot of books. I read the ones that I get emailed to me for the school board. But I read body language, and I'm reading some right now, and before I sign off, before I make a decision, I want some reassurance that these people are being heard by you, and it's not just, here's what we come up with, okay, here's what we're doing.
Right.
Because I'm just, like I said, I'm just reading body language, and I don't feel comfortable with it, so I just want that said.
Good job.
This slide talks about that we can't guarantee that all students will practice social distancing and face covers. We can't guarantee that. We're going to do our very best. When we talked about transportation, we are going to ask parents to transport as many kids as possible. That will be better for the kids, better for our buses. If we can do that, it's going to be tough for teachers and principals to take care of all of those kids being dropped off. But that's going to be the best for us if we can do that at all times and if at all possible. The number of students on the bus is going to be minimized, so there will be 1 child per seat. If 2 children have to sit together, then they must both wear masks. The kids from the same household or living in the same unit will sit together. Here are the resources that we need for school, and this addresses some of the things that were brought up by the CTA. We've talked about devices. About 8% of our students, we estimate, do not have devices. That's about 200. If students don't have internet access, one way to help them is to put software on their machine and send it home with them, or give their parents a flash drive with the lessons and the standards and the expectations on there so that they could put that on their machine. They don't have to have internet for that. Elementary students, we need to think about them. Our kids who are in kindergarten through second grade, they're going to be the toughest audience when it comes to at-distance learning. So we need to kind of focus on them and figure out how we'll do that. That's going to require a lot more of the downloading on the machines and the sending home at that level. We're talking about possible alternative instruction delivery for kindergarten through fourth grade or for families facing challenges. There's all sorts of talk out there and all sorts of ideas being batted around. So if you ask me for some examples, where there's about 300 on the internet today. So the resources, we've been told that we need to return to school. We need devices, we know that. Training in successful remote teaching. That's just what we were talking about, getting ready to go to distance learning. We know we have to have PD, and we will provide that for teachers. The question of substitute teachers is a tough one. We and every district in the nation has a shortage of substitute teachers. The virus is going to make that worse. So what the answer is, and we had some suggestions that most of them we've already got put in place, but recruiting more from colleges in the area, getting word out in the newspaper or radio. We've done that. We're going to continue to do that. Substitute teaching is a very, very big problem. It's a big problem when we don't have a crisis, but it's a real problem. Thermometers and scanners, we know we're going to need those in the buildings, masks and other PPE, and then signage. We've heard from lots of teachers, we need marks on floors, we need signs on the walls, we need lots of things to tell kids and remind kids how to stay safe. The employees' expectations, like I was talking about before, I am working on that list. I know that it needs to be clear and concise. There needs to be accountability for all of us. We're all accountable to someone. We need to ensure that the staff have the tools and resources and training to do their jobs. I did this PowerPoint way before I heard you all today, so we have had this in our mind, and we understand that we need to provide that for you. We've got to look at the possibility of modifying or shifting schedules and responsibilities. We may have some classified, some of our paras may be needed to take temperatures at the door. We may need to send them on a bus. We don't know exactly yet, but we just want to tell people that there may be some changes in your responsibilities. We would like to talk about possible stipends from the PDC. This is not district money. This is from the PDC committee for providing professional development for staff when we're working outside of contract time. That's Diane's area. That's the PDC committee's area. So that's just an option that was thrown out there. We know we need to identify and support staff members who are at high risk. We understand that. We know we need to plan for them to work remotely. We will, of course, have to have medical verification. That should not be difficult. And I'm going to get this out to our people, and if you need more time than July 31st, that's okay too. We need to let our principals know, if you are one of the staff members that really does need to stay home, please let your principal know that. Let your building administrator know that soon, so we can help you make plans and you can help us make plans. Okay. Questions? Yeah, that's what we said.
I'd like to go back to, you talked about one student per seat on the bus, and that's what I was talking about. And you got the director of transportation here.
Yeah.
Craig, is that doable?
He's the one that told me.
One student per seat on the bus. How do we? Okay.
It's just gonna take a little bit more effort, but, and I'll go on and say, if we do this, or whatever, and I do one person, we're doing away with this shuttle out here, that's the worst part, I have 1,200 kids up there. But it's gonna take, we'll have to take finance and the teachers and stuff to help us when we drop off at every school.
Craig's saying
And
it's
Craig,
possible,
that is
but
also
that's great, I think, fine.
implementing the 1 mile rule. Is that correct?
Well, here's the thing with that, we got to enforce it.
That's what I was, yeah.
And we all know how that works, so let's get my head with Dr. Manning and on and on. We gotta enforce it.
We have policies we gotta follow.
Yep.
Right now more than ever.
Yep, this is a board very in favor of policies, so. Yeah, just make things moving.
Yeah, thank you, Craig. Didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Now, Dr. Mayor, you were also going to talk about the equity training.
Yes, thank you. After, I meant to, when the young men were here earlier, I meant to say that we are taking what they have told us very seriously. They have come and talked to me kind of at length. I've worked with the student council on promoting equity studies. We are going to start with the Board of Education. August the 18th will be our first evening that we're going to start on equity studies. Our administrative team will be studying along with us. I look forward to it. I think it's going to be a tremendous boost for us. I think there'll be a lot of learning, and MSBA is involved with that. We are involved with a company called Solution Tree, who is providing us with book studies for teachers, and I think it's going to be very interesting and really a chance for us to really widen and open our eyes to lots of things that we haven't seen. So thank you for reminding me of that.
Yeah, it's a cost-effective option that we're trying to use for.
So we've locked that date in.
For us, yes, for the board training, August 18th.
Yeah, August
Time?
18th, 5:30. 5:30 to 8:30.
I saw the memo, but somehow I didn't put it in my phone. Where's it gonna be?
And details are still being developed on how it's going to look for.
They
the rest
are.
of the district.
They're going to be developed as to how they'll look for the rest of the district, but we will certainly let you know.
Start here.
It starts right here, yes.
Starts here. Okay. Any other questions for our superintendent's report?
No, thank you.
Okay, yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Check that off my list. We're moving on to old business, the revision of the MPS 2020-2021 school calendar.
Oh, is Renee here? Yes. Oh, okay, good. Renee is going, come on up by the microphone, Renee. She's going to talk to us about the issues related to the young kids, our little owls.
Yeah, so of course, as we've mentioned several times tonight, the little ones are gonna be the hardest, mask and like making a 3, 4, 5, 6-year-old wears a mask, like makes his hair stand up on my back, honestly. It's scary. I don't know that it's possible. And then you think they're not, half those kids, we have a hard enough time getting backpacks to school, more or less a mask. So then where do we go with that? With that being said, the start of school is supposed to be August 26th. We know the building is not set to be done before then. Well, that is 6 out of 8 of my kindergarten teachers and all my preschool teachers' rooms that aren't going to be done at that point. So it's physically not, if that's the true date, if it stays that way, it's physically not possible for those teachers to get their things in their rooms, unpacked, and be prepared for students on August 26th. So what I'm asking for is kind of a staggered start to the school year, not just because of that, but more so because of the current COVID. The kids that are gonna be first graders missed the last quarter of school. It will be over 5 months since they've been in school. And if you've ever been in an elementary building they were kindergartners, they're gonna probably have to relearn all of those procedures and things all over again. Plus, they're gonna have to be reminded probably 40 times a day, don't touch a friend, keep your hands to yourself, put your mask on, all that. So if we are allowed to do the staggered start for the pre-K, K, and 1, I would like to recommend first grade start on time, because all those teachers, their rooms honestly are already almost done. Once my building was one of the first ones that got released, and once they did, they have been in there. They've been painting, unpacking. Tim and I are meeting with teachers today and the next 2 days, just to kind of get to know them, because we're gonna have so many new teachers, and some of their concerns are, how are we gonna social distance these kids? So it's been kinda nice, giving them a little bit of peace of mind. But then also, I think what's helped them too is, because they've seen the staggered start, request, knowing that on that first day of school, in those first grade classrooms, if this is allowed, there's probably gonna be 3 to 4 extra adults in those rooms, just helping get the kids where they need to be. And that's in art, music, PE, and library too. Just helping make sure that I stay here and Carol stays there. When we're in line to go to the bathroom, that we're not, these kids constantly have their hands on each other. It's just part of being a kid. They're very social, and that's what we want. But helping maintain those social distance as much as we can. So the support of those kindergarten, preschool teachers and paras in those extra positions, in the lunchroom, helping them get their trays, and just relearning school. And then once, my plan is those first 3 days, have all those teachers hands on decks. Then the next week, the kindergarten teachers, if hopefully their rooms are ready, gonna wean them out and put them in getting their classrooms ready. And so it'll kind of wean off that extra support from the first grade rooms, because the preschool teachers will be in there. Some of the K-pairs might have to help in and step out just to make it equal, because it's not fair for me to have an extra hand and somebody else not to. And then towards the end of that week, my preschool teachers are gonna have to start working in their rooms. So it'll kind of wean out, but then when the kindergarten students come in, my preschool people are gonna come back for a couple days and help those kindergarten students. So it's just kind of a process. I've spent many hours, many pieces of paper. I do have erasable pens, which has helped. Trying to plan. I'm a planner. I need a plan for everything, so this whole COVID thing has thrown me way over the edge. And anybody who knows me, knows that it's kind of rocking my world. But I really think the staggered start is what's best for these little kids. Instead of putting 500 kids in the building, 200. The entrance and exit of our building's gonna be where the early childhood one was. Instead of putting 500 kids out those doors at a time, 200. It's all helping with social distancing too at that. And hopefully maybe it'll be better by the middle of September, hopefully. But that's kind of my recommendation. And it could be something that would be beneficial in the future too. 3 days here. First grade starts, and 3 days those kindergarten and pre-K teachers, and then kind of stagger them that way. But that's something we can think about. Let's just get through the start of the school year. Questions?
This is maybe off, I don't know if this is off subject or not, but thinking back to when I had kids getting ready to go to kindergarten, it'd been a long time since I was a kindergarten student and don't remember. Is there a way that you guys could maybe put something online or tangible that parents could go ahead and start talking to their kiddos about?
My question was, what's the plan for communicating about this to
Maybe they
parents?
could, you talk about, keeping your mask on, or don't touch this, or don't touch that. If you have, I know your building's different now, but I wonder if there are key words or key things that you guys work on in your building with those kiddos that might be a good reminder or a new onset for those kids that are becoming, just so when they get there, they've heard it again. I don't know if that works or not. I'm just thinking of tangible things that parents can use. Parents haven't ever had kids in your building before.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something that they can start using those same words at home. Some will, some won't, but at least it would be something that we could start some muscle memory, movement. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just something
When I was talking to Mrs. Ming today in our meeting, the counselor, she was talking about a book. Do you remember the name? Corona, Fiona, or? Rona Corona is for, sounded like a cute book, but she said it was a really good book that one of the teachers had bought and was gonna read to her classes about the coronavirus. It's a little, and she says it's on YouTube, so those are things that I can shoot out in an email
I just
to
wonder
those
about
kids, and.
just things that could help you guys lessen your load.
And I saw something on social media the other day about how, packing a kid's lunch, how less people having to pull things off is less people touching, There's all those kind of things that you
If
have
you need
to.
Dr. Maronite to read Rona Corona and act that out just a little bit, so it's not.
We
Make
will-
our own
we
YouTube
will
video
do that.
with you two. I'll record. I will record.
Probably shouldn't.
So do we need, this is an action item on?
Yes, it
Yes,
is an
this is
action item.
The
I got
only
some more
question I
questions.
have about it, I like the idea of the staggered start. how does this affect us with classroom hours? And is that going to change things for these students? Are they gonna be going to school longer? Are they gonna end at the same time? How does that work?
Preschool's not required,
Yeah,
so
right.
that doesn't make a difference. And
Kindergarten,
We have figured that out, and we've added, elementary teachers, principals, just gonna spring this on you, I guess. We are hoping to add, not tonight, but we're hoping to talk about and add 3 minutes to the elementary, day. 3 min,
Because we have
dismiss,
hour, because we have hour
dismiss 3.
requirements.
Ms. Makos has wanted 15 minutes for the last decade.
I'm with you. I think that's a good
But
idea.
we have looked
So
at that.
that'll make up those minutes because we're on a
Correct.
minute schedule now.
Right,
hours are-
right,
Great. That's all I need to know. Thank you.
I have a question about the 15 minutes. With the buses not having to congregate out here and having, would that make that 15 minutes much more feasible?
Oh, sorry, you moved your seat, you were not over there.
Like, I know that they staggered the 15 minutes because of that. So without that, is adding 15 minutes to the end of your elementary day?
We were at about 22 to 24 a day.
Sure.
50 seats.
So it's gonna take, that's what this happened to get here and get people over there.
Call them 70 some faster.
So I would, it's my opinion, we can do it. It's not.
It's good to hear. Yeah, so that'll be a good discussion to have, looking at, really the calendar again if we need to.
And the teachers will have to be involved in that
Yeah,
discussion.
for sure.
But right now, the calendar, we are asking to add those 2 days on at the beginning for professional development, back school up. School was supposed to start August the 24th. Back school up to start the 26th, and have those 2 days for professional development. As we've heard over and over, we're going to need time to train for remote, distance teaching and learning. There's just a lot there. One half of that day is planned for an introduction to the equity studies. None of that is in concrete yet, but we do know that we need those 2 days for professional development for our teachers.
Dr. Mayor, a lot of that, and some of that's going to also be for vertical PD and standards and assessment, looking at standards and assessments that we missed from March on.
Right.
So that we can make sure that we know where we're embedding that into the curriculum for the rest of the school.
Right. So whatever the kids missed, March to May, the teachers need to get together and collaborate on that and talk about that so we make sure that we cover that. So that will be 6 days, is that right? 6 days of PD. Right. The day after we come back from winter break, we have taken away the PD day there, but we have left the PD day at the end of the year. So teachers will come back the day after the students. And at the bottom of the calendar, it says that the teacher workday will follow the last day for students because we don't know when makeup days will be.
If we have an online opportunity, then will we have to have makeup days? I mean, will we be able to?
That will all depend.
Okay.
That will all depend on what kind
If
of
we don't have to have snow days
coverage
anymore,
we
that
have.
would be,
It would be great if we wouldn't have to have snow days. That'd be
I mean,
wonderful.
everything else in our world's changing, why not that?
Absolutely.
While we've got the question of the calendar up here, I wanted to know about what our plans are for parent-teacher conferences. Not to mention the open house. The open house is TBD by entry plans. With parent-teacher conferences, should we assume, thank you,
Thanks,
ladies,
ladies.
very much.
Thank you very much.
Greatly appreciate your partnership. Should we assume that we might have to play jazz with parent-teacher conferences?
I think we're so far out, I don't even think we know how to breathe for October.
Yeah,
I mean,
probably
truly.
so.
Well, then that would be a building.
Building level decision. That makes sense.
Well, the principals and teachers always get together because we have so many siblings across the district, and we try not to load up parents at 8 o'clock, 3 buildings at 8 o'clock. But there is a difference in parent-teacher conferences in the high school. The high school does parent-teacher conferences 4 nights. The elementaries do it differently. Well, there is a difference in, you don't do Monday and Tuesday?
We just do 2 nights. Everybody does one night, and then we.
Okay, but for the high school, I mean, it's scheduled for different people, correct?
No.
No, it's open house.
But we can modify.
I had a teacher email me and tell me something different, so I thought things had changed. Sorry. Didn't know. Okay. Then they've got it handled.
Yeah, as, it was just weighing on my mind.
Yeah.
Thought I'd ask. Okay. Do we have any further questions about the proposed changes?
I just noticed that we're actually gonna do Wednesday out to 12:30 completely, it looks like, for the most part.
And that again is to
Increase the virtual?
increase distance, but,
Or distance
well,
learning.
it's gonna be a huge task to make sure that the kids on site and the kids who are on distance are learning the same thing at the same
I
time.
just wanted to make sure it was for collaboration.
It is.
For the system we're gonna be
Yeah,
working with.
that's what it is.
Other questions? This is an action item, so we will need a motion and a second.
I would like to make a motion that we amend the calendar as it was sent out with the staggered schedule for the start of the Spain-Hauer building.
I will second.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in
Could I,
favor?
go ahead. No, go ahead and vote, sorry.
Okay, there we go. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you.
Let me just say that I wanted to say also that I was asked are we staggering because the school building is not going to be ready? My reply was no. We're doing this because we feel that it's best to send kids in a I think we should do this from now on. Dr. Lorenz and I still think that we're going to be in that building a lot sooner than people think we are. That's still an unknown. However, I think that I don't want people to think I was giving false information. My reason for suggesting that was because we think it's better for the kids who couldn't finish kindergarten to come back and get that extra attention. And we think it'll be better every year. So I just wanted to clear that up.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And next, we have the thermal camera bids. This is tabled in the June 29th meeting.
The cameras are still there at that price through this board meeting. So the question is whether we want to get thermal cameras or not.
I think it was 38,000 for two, is that what you would say?
What was that, $40,000?
It was close to that.
Was it 38, that's what I thought it
For
was.
3 cameras.
For three?
Do you-
They were,
Yeah.
Do what?
What's
Oh,
the-
yeah. The price isn't the issue. It just was the question whether we're going to go forward with them.
and at the time, last board meeting, we were thinking, oh, we're kind of in a lull.
Yes, that's how it
Yeah.
changed.
It's getting
because
better,
we were
but
in the
now
middle
we're
of the-
going, we need them as fast as we can get them.
But then
So-
kind of the health department, they kind of said the collection, I guess, for lack of a better term, of the temperature checks, the masking,
they-
the
they
distancing,
convinced
all of
me.
those
I'm
different
gonna go
things
with
in
them.
collaboration seem to
Correct.
help.
Can you refresh my memory on Scott?
I will have to do some looking.
So what's the alternative? So I'll play a little bit of devil's
The
advocate.
alternative is handhelds
Okay.
versus, the reason why we said 3 was for the 3 big buildings here, Beaker and Spainhauer. And since we're gonna be bringing them in transportation, we're not gonna be stopping at the door. We're unloading loads of people that are gonna have to pass through these 3 big buildings. That was the reason for the discussion.
So this is more sanitary, it's less hands-on,
It
it's
is,
quicker.
I'm gonna get Keeper on the phone because
So
I think
there's
I think it's
So is this
15 to
for the
20
buses or
people at a
for-
time.
for the buildings right out here. It'd be like this main entrance right here, the main entrance at Spainhauer and the main entrance at Beaker. They would all have to funnel through the doorway
No,
that we have to set up.
it's kind of stands
It
up
can
on
check
a
up to 16 temperatures at one time.
stand.
Hold on a second. We're gonna- yeah, so look at that. Hey, Keeper, what was the company, the model of the machine we were looking at?
Why not?
Oh my gosh.
I make a motion, we purchase the camera.
Innovative, what was it again? Innovative,
Do I hear a second?
Innovative
I hear a
Video
second.
Technologies.
Yes, sir.
Ed.
I'm with you.
Ellen, we've just
Innovative
moved to buy the
Videos
cameras.
Technology.
Okay, that, we're gonna get that money back, right?
We're going to turn it over to CARES, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great.
Any other questions, Ed?
Any other questions?
Okay, thanks.
Call question?
Okay, well, I can't, there's a discussion. Nobody seconded your call.
Yeah, he seconded.
All those, no, somebody's got to second your call, but whatever. All those in favor?
No, they don't.
Aye.
No, they don't, dear.
Any opposed?
I was an aye on that.
Okay.
Any abstentions?
All right. Moving on
I need to rule me out
to,
of order, but I can call.
oh, yeah. Okay, next is new business. We're gonna set the date for the tax rate hearing. How does 5:45, so just prior to the next board meeting look? That's pretty customary.
Matt, that a good time for you?
Make that motion. If I can do it a month ahead of time, yeah.
We got a second? Okay, it's been moved, it's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Next up, approval of the, of special education federal programs contracts. I'm looking for Ms. Durham. Hi. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, come find a microphone.
You're gonna need
Well,
a mic.
the people, yeah, the people will want to hear you.
Okay, so you guys have the contracts in front of you for Perkins Freedom and Mobility, Research to Practice, and the local tax effort from MSBA. I did not receive the Great Circle contract, so we will not be reviewing that tonight. Even if I got it today, it was gonna be too late for you guys to read through it. So I haven't received it. As soon as I do, I will send that out, and we'll talk about it at the next board meeting. I'm recommending approving all three of these contracts, the Freedom and Mobility through Perkins. This is our instruction for visually impaired and our orientation and mobility. This is not something that we have a staff member who's certified to offer a student. It's required for them to receive their education. Research to Practice, this is a contract for speech and language pathologist. We've had one resign this year, and then potentially a implementer as well. So this will be to fulfill some of that. And then local tax effort and public placement fund. Local tax effort, this all has to do with Great Circle. So we bill districts where the parents reside their local tax effort for all of the students who are residentially placed at Great Circle. And then we turn that in for public placement fund, and that is, in our previous contract with Great Circle, the only amount we pay them for residential students. So, just a service, we already partner with MSBA for several other things, this would just include that. So.
Okay. And we've got these here to approve in bulk, all together. Any questions?
I read through them. We currently, this is the same people that we're using for speech and language services now, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Because we've been
Research to
contracting that, okay.
And
I was just
Perkins
wondering, how
we
many hours does the Perkins, how many hours are we using? I saw it was $100 an hour, had some travel from Pleasant Hill.
It's
Just wondering
minimal
how many-
hours. I think the bill for June was approximately $1,100.
Oh, okay, so it's not cost effective for us even to go out and look for someone for that?
We
Okay.
couldn't find them.
Couldn't
I
find
mean,
that
we are
right. Yep,
very,
that's all I wanted
very
to know.
lucky to have her
Thank you.
willing to right here. She's amazing on top of that. I've observed her serving our students. Other questions? Speech and language pathologist, we would love to hire a person. I wish we could find a person. We've advertised, we've interviewed. Our pay just isn't competitive with the medical model, so this is where we're at.
Any other questions?
I make a motion that we, accept the three contracts with the removal of Great Circle, which is Perkins, Research to Practice, and the local tax effort.
Have a second? A second. Any further discussion?
You said with the removal.
With the removal of
Yes.
Great Circle, yes,
Yes.
sir, yeah.
With the removal temporary of it, because they will bring that contract later, or?
Yeah, we'll have to.
I emailed them
So it's
immediately to
basically
present it. It's an
tabled?
MOU between them and our districts, just basically stating, they send us a very large bill each month. I think it's $155 per hour or per day for residential students, that they only accept the local tax effort and public placement. So yes, we want to see that new contract and make sure that's in there. And I'm sorry that I don't have it
No, that's okay, I just wanted to be clear that I understood what the motion was.
have a deadline? I mean, I guess they did, I guess I
I can't force them to send it to me. I'm keeping the emails that I've asked for it.
That's what I was asking.
I
if
was gonna say,
that
do we
needed
have
be
to table
tabled?
the tax effort part? Do I
Not
need to
that
amend
part.
that since we don't
Just
have
the
a
grade
contract?
circle part.
The local tax effort, you should have had that contract. It was in the
Those
packet.
three were.
No, we have that, but because it's tied to Great
Because
Circle,
it's
can
tied
we
to
still
Great
vote
Circle?
on that?
What was that question again? I didn't.
I was saying because it's tied to the Great Circle contract,
The
similar to
local
what,
tax
do we
effort.
actually have to table that one before we accept it?
But staff won't change though.
It
No,
won't change
that's
the
gonna
taxes,
continue,
the
we
effort.
just
Right.
use this money to pay that other
Right, I was just
contract.
making sure.
I can explain that better if you need me. They're two completely separate.
Right, Great
things
Circle's
that
billing
just
us
work
It's
on
just
that
that it
thing.
happens to be the Great Circle, it's
Great
because
Circle is the
use,
reason we need that.
yes,
Right.
Because that's how we,
but it is completely separate.
yeah.
So in the
has nothing to
beginning,
do
we
with
had
that.
it tied, okay, the understanding was
I think
tied.
you said
Yeah,
it
no,
right, just remove
Okay.
Great
Uh,
Circle from
and-
that line.
I'm finished now.
And no, we don't need to table Great Circle. Great Circle will, we hope, just make an appearance in
Okay.
the August agenda.
Okay.
All right, so we'd love for that to happen. Great Circle, anything we can do. All right, so we do have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the Perkins Research to Practice and the Medicaid claiming services through SBA that are third one there, okay? With the exclusion here of Great Circle. All right, further discussion? Ready?
No.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
See, I didn't get in trouble.
Uh-huh, you didn't have to call the question.
Yeah, I started to 3 times.
Uh-huh, okay, then we've got the approval of free and reduced lunch, for that form, the approval of that form.
We're just approving the form, it's,
Yes,
We do
it's a
every
DESI
year.
form. It just requires board approval.
Okay.
Nothing
We
has,
haven't made any changes
I was
to
gonna say,
it.
nothing's changed,
Well,
right?
that's- I think the year at the top is all that is changed.
Oh, of course.
Make a motion, we accept the free and reduced lunch form.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed?
I didn't get to call the question.
Yeah, no, not that time. Okay, thank you. Okay, we've arrived at a portion of our program in which we're going to talk about GC, I can never say this one right, GBCB, I always get it wrong. Linda's had to correct me 5 or 6 times. GBCB is the staff conduct policy. Now, let me preface this in a couple of different ways. First, with our new board members, we're interested in going back and looking at board policies. What's working, what's not, what can we shape up, what can best serve our students, our staff, our administrators who have to then carry out these policies. And so we're starting here as one of the first items, one of the first policy items that we want to review. This is just the beginning, so get used to hearing us talk about policy, in other words. This one's pressing because things that have to do with staff conduct change all the time, culture changes, the times change. With this policy, we've got there's a whole lot that goes on in this policy, right? There's more than a handful of different items related here. Something that we need to keep in mind is that this policy touches on free speech. Free speech is something, I mean, whenever a board member is sworn in, they're sworn in to, and the oath has to do with protecting and upholding the Constitution. So it's important for us to uphold our employees and our students and our community members' First Amendment rights. But keep in mind that we're talking about free speech here as a special legal category, right? Speech that addresses issues of public interest. Free speech doesn't mean speech that's free from consequences, right? So not all speech is protected by the Constitution, whether that's because, or whether it's, what you're talking about may just not be in the public interest, right? Like what you ate for lunch is not in the public interest, right? So that's not protected. Yelling fire in a crowded theater creates a public hazard, so that's not protected free speech either. when it comes to what government employees can do, there's a gray zone, right? And it has to do with how effectively employees can serve their students and serve the community while exercising their free speech rights. I say all that to say that we're going to address some of the things in this policy, but we may not address everything. There's a lot of different things going on, but none of us here are interested in violating anybody's constitutional rights. So, while we're going to start here, we're going to take it nice and slow. I think that the objective of talking about this particular policy really should be as follows. I think that we should talk about what we might want to see changed, what's working for us, what's not working for us in this policy. But this is just a start. If we have ideas about things that we might want to see kind of tracked down in this policy, things that we might want to see changed, then, well, I'm going to be taking notes about those things, and I'm going to turn it back around to the MSBA and ask for their input, and then follow back up with the board members about what MSBA has said. Okay. I have one change that I'd like to make to the policy, and I wonder what you, the rest of the board, would think about it. I gotta scroll down to it. I'm looking at item, I think it's number 11 here. Yeah, communicate clearly and professionally. Employees will not use profanity, will not raise their voices unless necessary. It's this next sentence that I'd like to make a recommendation about. Written communication must be grammatically correct. Okay. My recommendation is that we change that sentence. Written communication, especially that which is addressed to the public, students and their families, and coworkers, should be proofread to avoid errors in grammar and usage. That's it. But the emphasis there is not that you have to have everything be completely correct all the time. That's an impossible standard to reach. So let's re-emphasize who it's important that we're talking to, and let's emphasize that, yeah, take a look at your work before you submit it. This is part of what caused a holdup with the handbooks. Right? We want to project professionalism, but we also don't want you guys to be held to some unreasonable standard. If it's in policy, that's the policy. Right? So that's my recommendation. I'll say it again. Written communication, especially addressed to the that which is addressed to the public, students and their families and coworkers, should be proofread to avoid errors in grammar and usage. Is it okay if I run that one past MSBA? All right. What else can we talk about with this policy then? This was something that we'd kind of discussed as needing to be discussed, so.
There's a real gray line so far as administration. There's a real gray line when we talk about social media especially, and how social media, often it's on our, and if we're talking about employees, it's on our employees' machines, on their time, at home. I think I said before, it's one thing to say Dr. Mayor is stupid and ugly. It's another thing to say Dr. Mayor is extorting money from the district.
Right. Yeah, one is that what I had for lunch is not of public interest. The other
and
is.
the opinion that is not really the public interest, but if you say that the superintendent is stealing money from the district, that's the public interest. And so that, whether it is true or not true, is covered under this policy. And I feel if it disrupts the school's business and disrupts the flow of how the school should run and the chain of command, that absolutely should be dealt with by administrators in the school realm.
And that may be something that MSBA can give us some more input on, like how that looks, because we've just recently had to walk the policy back. Many districts that have adopted that policy language, we had to walk it back. And I think that was our year or first year or something. That, you know, because we can't say, you can never say a bad thing about the school. But there's got to be,
Well, I think we had some discussion about posting inappropriately on different social media sites while in the classroom also.
yeah.
And there was some concern about who was on videos and things that were being publicly posted or privately posted on some social media
I was
sites.
gonna say, what happens during the school day on your paid time is a little different than what happens on your
100%.
non-paid time as well.
100%.
You know, I mean, there are some, not necessarily HIPAA, but yes, there's some protection rights that should happen for people who are within the building or students within the building, which is completely different than what you choose to do on your own time, somewhat, like we're saying. But if it does cause disruption, like we had talked about within the function of the district itself, then, you know, there is, you know, I've been talking about there is an employee-employer relationship, that there are certain expectations as an employer, even within free speech, that employees still have to be held accountable to. And that's where we're looking at kind of tweaking some of these things. Also, after we go through maybe equity training, we might see a few more things that maybe we might want to add or tweak within this as well. Because that's something that may come across as well as we start looking at tightening down on racism or bullying or whatever across the district, that maybe there are things that are happening that may fit some of those examples that we can work on and place maybe within here a little bit. And maybe we might get some direction from her or ask for some of those things until he comes to speak with us, to see maybe what she's talked with other districts or maybe what other districts have adopted. Because you can adopt anything after they give you the base package, as long as it is legal enough where you want to stand behind it.
So Brian just definitely went in the direction I was going to. You're always a representation of where you work. And you are attached sometimes to other people that you're associated with, like your spouse, even though you are separate. So it is very important that when you make statements, that it can affect your job and it can disrupt your work with students and your peers.
Yeah, and so.
So it is a gray area, but
We
it
do-
will affect you.
And we need to be thinking about how we can clarify our values in ways that make clear, look, this is what, how do I want to phrase this? I don't know how I want to phrase that. But it seems like there's some connection there between values, what we value as a district, what we find will be productive public interactions.
Something else that we need to bring up is selling things while in the classroom. Promoting personal sales of things while in the classroom. I feel like that falls in the conduct. Like Girl Scout cookies or craft items that we're making or
Pampered chef or other things on the side, whatever you
So
want.
basically, it's gonna go
Especially,
across of.
especially the thin mints, yeah,
Well,
especially the
get a
thin
grade with
mints.
Go.
Then
How
that's
much you pay
using your
for it.
cell phone and not doing your job. So
Right.
we need to make sure that there's a cell phone policy then, that we are enforcing as administrators that we're not on social media during business hours. Unless it's your lunch
I mean,
break
I
or
think
your
it
break.
goes to selling, I mean, we might be really excited to sell kids, I'm using this as an example, my kids also bought Girl Scout cookies. We might be really excited to sell Girl Scout cookies, but Jimmy, he's lucky to get a free lunch at school. And he would give anything to have a Girl Scout cookie,
Right.
and he can't. And I just think,
So
I just
basically, you're
think
talking
they're.
about bringing them in and selling
Absolutely.
them, not social media
No,
selling
I'm
them.
talking about selling them in their
Okay.
classroom and promoting, staff conduct and promoting in,
In the classroom.
yeah, and selling to like promoting sales to students.
Because really, that's what our primary concern is. If, you know, teachers want to say things, you know.
I don't know, that's funny, but.
Well, we can't, I mean,
Yeah.
I hate to use the word novel and not be talking about COVID, but we can't be the first district to ever have this issue. So, I mean, if MSBA doesn't have a policy that would help us go in a direction,
Then who
then I'd
would?
say they're not doing it.
I'm
So,
sure that they
But
have.
I mean, there has to be something.
I looked around at other policies, other districts, I'm sure you guys did too, and saw a wide variety. And they all reflected what I'm sure were the problems and situations that those districts had dealt with in the past.
Yeah, I think one thing to think about is if we're doing online things, one of the things that's gonna be very easy for a teacher is to be using their own equipment. And so, you know, we're gonna have to be very cautious how we use a cell phone policy. We write a cell phone policy because some of those teachers are gonna be let's face it, some people might not have internet at home and the only data they use is their phone. And so we're gonna have to address that as a board also. If we have these teachers that are having to teach at home, are we asking them to provide their own internet and those kind of things? So we have to be cautious when we develop a cell phone policy because all of us majority of people work on their phones, they use that. Might need to.
There's a separation between work-related and.
There might be, but they pay for it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I agree, but I'm just saying that as a policy development.
Yeah.
And we also have a filtering system now that's gonna catch almost everything they're doing, so.
On a
I mean,
school,
they're doing it at home.
on a school link device.
You know,
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Only.
do we have those? We have enough of those.
Stop it.
No, I'm serious.
Well, of
We don't
course
have
not.
enough.
I was like, of course we know we
We've
don't.
already determined tonight that we don't have
Yeah.
enough computers
Yes.
and things for teachers to log in. I mean, how many employees did we say we had? How many people will have to log in? 300 and some?
366 for teachers.
366. And we have not that many remote devices.
389.
So we don't have any to send home a student. I mean,
I'm with you, but no.
So Erin, are you, looking to send that, are you looking for any action item, or you just wanna have a discussion and leave that open and we come back to it?
It's just discussion at this
Okay.
point.
It'd be an ongoing thing. I
Yes.
Yeah,
put
definitely.
words in your
With
mouth.
all policies.
We've talked about looking at policies.
I think she typed it in.
Yeah. Yep, I got it right.
She put a mark on it.
Cause that could fall under a lot of things.
Yeah, well, and we do, so I have taken that note. Yeah, well, and it's a key word even in a legal context, right? Like, so,
Yes.
what you say can be disruptive, but, I mean, and the standard's got to be really high, because, Harry and I know from our own context, how important tenure is, and how important academic freedom is, and how important expression is, it goes along with that. And so I don't think either one of us want to be on the wrong side of that, but we do need to clarify, if we have an opportunity to clarify, okay, well, you are serving a very diverse group of people here as a teacher, or as a staff member. What does it mean to treat those people with respect in your speech? Is that something that we can have a policy that says, this is what we value? If we can't, because it's the law, we have to be very hands-off, then we do, and that's okay.
Just want to be consistent.
We want to be consistent,
with it,
yeah.
and let, so everybody knows.
And
what it is.
clear, yeah, so that
Especially
way-
after the book you just had me read, so that's.
Yeah, lucky you. Okay, so I will take these notes. I can start the conversation with MSBA, but it sounds like we also might want to wait until equity training.
I agree with that.
And you can also, we can email you and say,
Oh,
hey, you know,
'Cause this is
we're
gonna be
at
an
point 7, I
ongoing-
wanna change
ongoing
this. So
policy.
Right.
I think that we
Policy
started the
review.
discussion and we send you our thoughts and
Definitely.
we
well, and
don't
I mean, I'd
inundate
like to
everyone
hear,
with that.
part of this, while it encompasses the administrators, I'd like to hear from them if they have thoughts about this, like,
Definitely.
things that they feel like
It are working.
are working or are not working. I don't wanna put more rules in for them that they already have a hard time mandating.
Things that they need to.
Yeah, I mean, so if there is anything, I hope that they'll share
Yeah.
that with us,
Yeah,
with you,
please, yeah,
Eric.
contact me directly, anybody, everybody. If you've got an idea about how that policy might need to be developed, I'm all ears. You've got my email address, it's on the website. Okay, so then we're gonna move forward to scheduling a retreat to develop a Board of Education strategic plan for district facilities. So there are a lot of moving parts when it comes to what our district does with facilities. You've been hearing us talk about some of them even tonight. If you drove into our parking lot out here, you experienced perhaps some facilities concerns. Right? You might have hit a pothole or something like that. We've got needs. Okay? And the best way for us to get in, to get a handle on those needs is for us to meet as a board and start talking about what is our long-term plan for our facilities. It's something Harry's been talking about for a while. It's something that I know he's not alone in talking about as well.
I didn't know till tonight that we didn't have, that the gazebo wasn't ours.
Right. So these are the sorts of things that we need to have a retreat about. I have not yet gotten in touch with MSBA to clarify the sunshine law, but Mr. Jakes and I were talking about whether we would have to stream that as a retreat that's going on in the time of COVID, because we're supposed to be having, transparency there. So we may very well, it will be a very long meeting, but nevertheless. So this is the time.
The sunshine law actually just went through this in training. We just have to mention it as a meeting and let the public know when we're having the
Yeah.
retreat.
I was gonna say, every meeting doesn't have to be streamed, but the
Yeah.
availability for them
Yeah.
to attend
Where and
possibly.
when.
Streaming is just our choice
But-
here, that we
Right.
don't even have to do
Mhm.
that.
I sure thought there was some change that happened as a result of, there was some new recommendation, some guideline, I don't know. But I thought there was something that had happened as a result of all this COVID stuff.
I think as long as we're
I
having
went back
open
and looked,
meetings.
and what they talked about is accessibility,
That's just,
and
Yeah.
that you had to provide a safe environment or another way for people to be able to look.
right.
But that was directly related to
You
your
can offer them
meetings.
a blanket on the.
Yeah, you
Well,
could
and now
offer
that the
them.
governor has lifted a stay-at-home order,
Right.
does it still
It-
pertain?
right.
That was really my
Right.
question. I'm not 100%
And what
sure.
we're looking at is just dates, so we just need to give you some dates here, is what I was
Bingo, yeah,
thinking, is what we
yeah.
had talked about, but everybody's just gonna have to check their calendar and see what availability is.
Yes.
And you're gonna have to commit to a workday,
Well,
cause it's not gonna be able to be an evening.
No, yeah. So,
Or a
but,
series of
but
evenings.
since we are here together as a board, now is the time when we can have that conversation,
Mm-hmm.
so. I also don't, I can't remember which one of the board members said, it's not, we've got a lot on our plates right now. And that it might be something that we want to talk about for September, right? So that we get through back to school, so that we can be available to help continue developing that plan. Would anybody have a problem with looking at it toward September?
No, I've been asking to do it for 2 years,
Okay,
to
well.
have a CSIP and get somewhere, I mean, we've been talking about this for a while, so it's, yeah.
Pertinent, okay. I mean, I don't mind talking about it in August.
No, I mean, I think it's pertinent to have a plan to get to it, but I don't think it's pertinent that we
Oh, rush
tie
to
up
it.
some
I
more
see.
time to get
I
now.
see.
I
Well, and
think
we're
it's-
gonna need to do some fact finding too.
Right.
So finding out what utilities are at the various buildings, how much we're spending on each building,
What our
per year.
concerns are at those buildings.
What are the concerns?
We
of
have
those
all the
buildings?
pictures.
And you,
We don't have pictures of the high school. Dr. Mayor, I don't know how you and Dr. C feel about that. I would be happy to arrange with Ian and come out and take a walk with the newbies, oldies. The newbies went and walked all the elementary buildings in the middle school. Ryan went with us a few of those trips. Dr. T met us, and did the new building. Huh?
As long as there's not 4 of us.
Yeah, at this
Unless
point,
you
as long
wanna-
as there's not 4 of us, and I don't care, I mean, I guess we can tell people when we're doing it
Yeah.
as a
and then
meeting,
everybody
also
can-
like we
yeah,
did
you
the
could do
last
that.
one. But we took pictures of, we've been to all the buildings, except, SEC and the high school. And so I have photos of every building and concerns in every building. Between Christy and I, we have, a lot of pictures. I haven't done a thing with those, waiting on this. So if nobody cares, I'm happy to work with Ian and come walk through and invite whoever wants to come, and then if we need to post it as a meeting, we can do so we can walk this last 2, we need to walk the last 2 before that September date.
okay. So when works for people in September? MSBA has its Safe Schools Conference, that Friday and Saturday, the 25th and 26th. So I'd prefer not the 26th, which is a Saturday. Labor Day's the 7th, yes.
Are you thinking a weekend?
For a day-long thing, perhaps? I don't know.
I'm thinking August.
Oh, okay, September's not good?
No,
She's gonna be gone.
We have a football season, I'm going football.
Right.
And the date just got pushed back yesterday, so
Well, there's no
I'm
pro
gonna be
football, so
open.
are you against Sunday?
And it certainly doesn't have to be a Saturday, I just threw that out.
I mean, I can arrange a, like a weekday.
Oh, yeah?
As long as I know.
You got some,
You know, if you call me tomorrow and say, hey, can you do this on July 26th, I'm gonna say, or July 24th, I'm gonna say, no, I can't.
yeah, no,
But
yeah.
if I know in September, I can arrange a weekday.
Ed, what's your life look like? Only the weekends, okay.
Okay.
So,
So you're looking at 13th or 20th, if you're looking at September.
Yeah, how does the?
on a Sunday,
No, Sunday?
Oh, no, Saturdays, if they work better for y'all.
I'll be at church in the morning, but I can be there.
Well, I was gonna say, all
I'll
those
be-
Saturdays
yeah,
were.
I'm gonna be in Topeka, Kansas, so, no.
Yeah, that's why I say
Yeah,
Sundays
so
over Saturdays.
I'm like, August 15th is like, an open day.
that's like right around the corner, that's a
Right.
month.
Back to
I'm
August.
I'm a no-go, I'm a no-go that day. I'm a no-go already.
Gee, I got no social life at all. I'm open all those days.
It's just you and
Harry,
me.
I'll invite you, you can come along.
I was just gonna suggest the 12th.
It's canceled.
Valley's,
It's canceled.
homecoming's canceled.
Right, right.
The game isn't canceled though, but yeah, I mean, that's life.
Yeah, I'll be in
Is-
Topeka.
Christie will be gone.
Is the equity training just that night, or is it a series? I knew at one time it was looking to be in a series.
Like 3
It's
days.
gonna be that, no. Well, right now, we've got it for that one day, and then we'll see what else we can schedule in.
Okay.
Yeah.
At one time I knew it was like a
Okay,
series
so
of
can we do
Wednesdays.
can we do a few weeknights instead of doing it all in one day?
Yeah, didn't we do that, something like that
Considering
once
what
before,
this
for
time of year looks
3-4
like?
hours up at the.
We can come and start, yeah.
I
mean,
suggested to Brian that maybe you
Yeah.
might wanna just do a short one to talk about where you wanna plan
To
to
plan the
go.
strategic
Give
plan.
And then
everybody
we
a
might
chance
break off
The plan to
in
plan.
smaller
hear a
groups.
plan, or hear what's happened, or whatever you wanna hear from what's,
To start
what's
the
happened, and then
conversation.
you can give yourself some time to think about it.
I like
Break
that.
it down by facility as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Easily.
definitely wanna break it down by.
So then we can start with a
25th? Okay.
weekday evening meeting to kind of set our path forward.
Right.
Yes?
So we're looking at August right now. We have 3 hours that we're gonna be here on the 18th, and we have, well, I mean, maybe 3 or 4 hours on the 25th.
Yep.
Is it fair to push it to September?
Yeah, I would prefer to push it to September, but
Can
we
we
could do
email
early.
you ideas for dates?
I was gonna say, can we, yeah,
I'll
collaborate
have them
dates?
on the 25th meeting?
Just not, oh, and name down
August
then?
25th
My
meeting?
phone's
Is that
about to
far out?
die.
Yeah, okay.
I mean,
Is that enough time?
Well, we also come on the 18th for 3 hours. Come with some dates.
or I mean, at least maybe we'll.
No,
That'd be fine. Yeah, just let me, yeah, we'll decide by the 18th. Let me know dates if you've got them, if you've got a preference. We can do it that way.
Like I said, we're doing it in September. I mean,
That gives us time. True.
I can make it the 5th and the 26th.
So we're gonna try and go like a 3-4 hour meeting one evening, and then we could break off into smaller groups.
That's it, yep. Sounds like a plan.
All right, I like that.
Go for it.
Shall we move on?
Okay, yes, now we be moving to, closed session. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion, we go adjourn to closed session.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call. We'll start with Alan.
Hi.
Aye.
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 All right.
I would like to thank you all for making the time to
Thank
hang
you
out with us
very
for 3
much.
hours tonight. Thank you all.
Good night, Amber.
Yeah, no, I saw it, totally upset.
Oh, I was gonna.